unapologetic, unadulterated, and absolutely positively beyond the shadow of all doubt uncompromising. This is the BlackChannel.net radio program, where we don't complain about the media, we are the media. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. Of course, joining me today is Professor Black Truth. Welcome back to the Black Channel, brother.
B1 family.
And of course, tonight we have a fully stacked program. As always, we're barreling out of the gate. You, of course, need to let your friends and family know that you have found the home, the haven, the stronghold, the super fortress of intelligent black thought. Of course, we could only be referring to the BlackChannel.net radio program. Now, we have a few things to touch on here tonight. Of course, we're going to deal with the Pacific Rim, which is what tonight's broadcast is going to be dealing with as well. And we will be taking your phone calls at the bottom of the hour. As promised from last night, of course, because we are the place that stays in front of these things, understand something. While other people are telling you about news that has already happened, this is the only place that is focused, obsessed, fixated on talking about the news before it happens. And when we start seeing the slight turns or the things that confirm what we've already told you before, this is the only place that you can come to that routinely and regularly deals with that. Now, Professor Black Truth, a lot of folk may have missed this, but we talked about Amy Chua years ago here on the Black Channel radio program, and we tried to tie together some other things for people. Because you see, when you're trying to inject people with the poison, a dumb person runs up and tries to shove as much poison in you as they can, but a smart person conceals their poison and puts it inside of a candy coating. They mix in truth with lies and their own agendas. And you've uncovered that for everybody here, so why don't you go ahead and explain that for them tonight? What new insights the Black Channel has to show them?
Dr. John Henry Clarke said it best. You got no friends. Now, for a lot of people who don't understand the way that intelligent black society works, we don't talk about whatever topics are hot for the day. Jason doesn't do that, neither do I. We tell you about the issues that are part of the overall picture. Now, before we dig into Amy Chua and why it's important to talk about her, we need to do a little bit of history first. Dr. John Henry Clarke, about 25 years ago, was talking about a mini-series that had been put on TV by a guy named Adam Mezeroy called The Africans. Adam Mezeroy is supposed to be a so-called black man, but you wouldn't have known it by watching the mini-series. Dr. Clarke exposed this man in one of his brilliant lectures. This guy was sitting here talking about how this was supposed to be the history of the Africans, and yet he did not say anything complimentary about the Africans. All he had to say was everything negative, dealing in more stereotyping, all the rest of it. A so-called black man doing this. Adam Mezeroy was a Muslim, by the way. And isn't it interesting that when it came time to talk about the Arabs in Africa, he had nothing but shining, glowing things to say. So he didn't have a problem talking about people in Africa positively, so long as they were not black. Now, what does that have to do with anything? Dr. Clarke was exposing for you how propaganda works, especially when the propaganda is attempting to use black people as a crash dummy. White supremacy is on the march, and their new mouthpieces are going to be Asian women. Already are. And they're going to be trying to find a way to use black people as a smokescreen. You need to know about this. Amy Chua started off more or less to a lot of people innocently. She came to prominence with her book, Battle Hymn of the Tiger Moms. And she's out there with all sorts of clickbait titles for her, for articles covering her, such as Asian Moms. Obviously, she was doing she wanted people to click on the articles. Full package came out. Now, Amy Chua's work reads like it was written by Rush Limbaugh. It reads like it was written by Neil Bortz or any other so-called conservative. These are white supremacists in drag. And the thing about Amy Chua is it's not new. This kind of race-baiting this kind of racial superiority stuff ain't new. And it shouldn't surprise you that the Asians are doing it. You can go back to World War II. How the world could the Nazis, who said that whites were the master race, be in bed with the Japanese, who were saying the exact same thing? I can show you pictures of Japanese soldiers who were in certain portions of the African diaspora allegedly giving food and relief to Africans. This is in World War II. So the idea that Asians would like to put forward that that they don't have harboring long-held hostility toward us ain't new. The reason that the Nazis found ready support with the Japanese and vice versa is because ideologically they were on the same page. They saw eye to eye. Amy Chua is a 21st century version of the exact same bigotry. Now, if her new book, The Triple Package, was not very skillfully put forward, it's because Amy Chua is not a very good propagandist, and she doesn't want to be. She's simply here to sell the soap. Racist nonsense. But she was very careful, and the reason that I'm highlighting her is because when she promoted this book, she was talking about all the 8 successful immigrant groups, and one of them that she chose to use were Nigerians. This is a woman who really has never been much of an Afrophile. I've never heard her mention black people positively, truth be told, and yet all of a sudden she wanted to make sure that the Nigerians were the first ones that she mentioned. Now, it's no surprise to me that Amy Chua found criticism, but it was interesting who she also found support from. She actually found criticism from other Asian Americans. For example, over on the Huffington Post, you had Kan Ho, who's a writer, scholar, and activist. He's an Asian American academic. And this man wrote an article saying what Amy Chua didn't tell you, why the triple package is dead wrong. And what he wrote, I'm sitting here going, man, you should have black people lined up writing stuff like this, but a lot of them are not. And he pointed out very skillfully, might I add, that the immigration policies of the United States over the past century have isolated a wide range of groups to shove into the melting pot. And not all immigrants arrive under the same circumstances. And then he points out that Amy Chua has turned a blind eye to this glaring fact. She has cherry-picked her examples of success, focusing instead on cultural values, not recognizing that many of these people arrive with distinct advantages. He then goes on to say, no doubt, Chua is quite aware of the racist baggage that her old-fashioned argument carries, so she made sure to focus on one group. Touting the Nigerians, she focuses on how these recent immigrants have done better than other African Americans whom are, in her worldview, inferior. This is an Asian American writing this. But even Chua admits that Nigerians already arrive with advanced graduate degrees, JDs, MDs, PhDs. Is it a wonder that they have done well? These people are not a broad selection of Nigerian culture, but a specific subsection. And this casts doubt upon Amy Chua's thesis. This is an Asian American writing this. Now, he also goes on to point out Amy Chua did not arrive in the United States and claw her way up from a tenement slum. We know this because she has amply documented her own personal circumstances. Her first book points out that she grew up among Chinese in the Philippines who, even as outsiders, own everything. World on Fire, a book that I read 10 years ago. This is me talking now, not Mr. Ho. But I read her book almost 10 years ago. And in that book, she talks about how she comes from the Chinese in the Philippines, whom form a class so rich and powerful that they need bodyguards and live isolated in compounds. These are Chua's own words. Although they constitute 1% of the population, Chinese Filipinos control about 60% of the private economy, including the country's 4 airlines and almost all of the banks, hotels, shopping malls, and big conglomerates. My own family, now this is quoting Amy Chua's own words, my own family runs a plastics conglomerate and owns swaths of prime real estate. And they are only third-tier Chinese tycoons. They also have safe deposit boxes full of gold bars, each one the size of a chocolate bar. I myself have such a gold bar. My Aunt Leona sent it to me as a law school graduation present a few years before she died. This is Amy Chua. I'm sorry, I think I meant to say Dr. Chua. Now, the interesting thing that you need to understand about the Amy Chua and the line that she represents, she is pushing white supremacy. You need to know how deep the game goes. A lot of you have probably read in recent years that a lot of white companies are trying to get their hooks into China. DreamWorks wants to get in there. Rupert Murdoch is already in there. They're playing a very skillful game with the Asians, and they are playing them like a fiddle. The Asians very much want to be validated by the whites. They'll never say it, but they do. I told you about this in my video series about basically the secret relationship between whites and Asians, otherwise known as racist Asians hating blacks. We pulled the wool off this a long time ago. We pulled the covers off a long time ago. They want to be recognized, and white people know this. Rupert Murdoch has a white son, and even though he married Wendy Ding, he didn't have any children by her. And why did he want to marry Wendy Ding? You already know why. He wanted entree into China. He wanted an Asian wife, and not just an Asian wife, she had to be a native Chinese. That's what he wanted, and he used her to get entree, and once he got his hooks in deep, once he made his connections, once he had his power base there and could not be dislodged, all of a sudden Rupert Murdoch wanted to trade Wendy Ding in. Understand that. That's how power works. So the white people are giving Asians a pat on the head. It's easy to do, flatter them, and that will get them to lower their defenses, and it's working. Oh, you Asians are so smart. Oh, you Asians are this. The model minority. You guys are this, you guys are that. And the Asians are falling in line. Now, it's not just a matter of who is criticizing Amy Chua. There's a number of Asians who have done it. You can go online and find that people of Korean descent, people of Indian descent criticizing her. But it's also interesting who's supporting Amy Chua's point of view. Now, we got a clip that we're going to play from Good Morning America talking about Amy Chua's second book, Battle Hymn of the Tiger Moms. And it's Juju Chang of ABC talking to Robin Roberts. And I want you to listen to how this exchange goes. And I want you to listen especially with close attention to what Robin Roberts says and how eagerly that she says it. Jason, if you play the clip.
The Tiger Mom debate has captured the attention of parents all across the country. From the cover of Time magazine to the bestseller lists, Amy Chua's book, Battle Hymn of the Tiger Mother, about strict Asian parenting has exploded. Now our Juju Chang sat down with the author to talk about this uproar.
There's a lot of controversy. Robin, I call myself a tiger cub because I was raised by tiger parents. I think you were too.
Oh, my parents were very strict. Right? Very loving, but very strict.
Loving
yes.
but strict. No play date.
The tiger.
Now, ain't that something? Amy Chua writes a book. Juju Chang predictably supports it. I can understand that. But then live on TV, Robin Roberts, who has nothing in common with Asians whatsoever, sits there and goes, oh yes, my parents were just like that. Black women, you need to understand something. When this kind of thing goes down, you lose respect. And Robin Roberts wasn't the only one. In response to Amy Chua's latest book, this triple package nonsense, Kelly Goff, who I would have expected better from, on, what a surprise, the website The Root. Now you know why it is we tell you stay away from The Griot and The Root and other white-owned, so-called black-oriented media websites. Kelly Goff wrote an article supporting Amy Chua and her racist nonsense. Tiger Mom's latest book, Obnoxious but Not Racist. She actually wrote an article saying that the triple package was obnoxious but not racist. Asians called it racist. Asian Americans had no problem calling it racist, but black women have a problem with it. You know, if somebody comes up to you and pats you on the head and the first thing you start doing is going like a puppy, you lose respect. But it's sad to see a black woman co-signing this, because when Amy Chua talks about Tiger Moms, Robin Roberts, she ain't talking about your mother, and she ain't talking about you. That discussion has nothing to do with you. This is what Dr. Clark was talking about with Adam Meseroy's series, where they give you a pat on the head and then immediately give you a punch in the face afterwards. A very skillful game is being played by white supremacy, and they found a mouthpiece to push to sell the soap. Now, before I go any further, you need to understand, yeah, Juju Chang is supporting Amy Chua, but then again, how would they not? These two are carbon copies of each other. Amy Chua's parents were immigrants, so were Juju Chang's. Amy Chua's parents come from money, so do Juju Chang's. Juju Chang is a product of the Ivy League, just like Amy Chua. Amy Chua is married to a Jew, and a Jew with money. So is Juju Chang. In fact, Juju Chang converted to Judaism. So, no surprise that these two are sitting here co-signing each other. But it's disgusting if we think that any black people are going to go along with it when even Asians are not. You need to understand that this is not new bigotry. It's the old bigotry, just with a new face. And when somebody sits there and says, oh, Robin Roberts, I know your parents were like this, and she goes, yep, yes they were. That is betrayal. That is somebody trying to sell you on the soap by getting a black face to endorse it. And the same thing goes for Amy Chua's latest book, the triple package, getting Nigeria. They're hoping that some Nigerians will say, yes, that's us, that's us. But before you get ready to go ahead and co-sign Amy Chua's nonsense, you might want to give a read to her first book, World on Fire. Now, Amy Chua is very much a product of certain icy political forces. Hey, just like Juju Chang. Juju Chang, by the way, is an active member of the Council on Foreign Relations. A lot of you think that this is all just coincidence. That's like saying slavery was a coincidence. That's like saying the lynchings were a coincidence. That's like saying that the assassinations of Medgar Evers, Malcolm X, and Martin Luther King were all coincidences. That's an awful lot of coincidences, don't you think? I want you to understand the evil that this represents. In her first book, World on Fire, Amy Chua talked about Africa quite a bit, but she didn't really have anything good to say. Now, before I go any farther, I want you to understand that her first book, World on Fire, was published in 2003. In the very first part of the book, the introduction no less, she says, Zimbabwe today is a vivid illustration of the first kind of backlash, an ethnically targeted anti-market backlash. For several years now, President Robert Mugabe has encouraged the violent seizure of 10 million acres of white-owned commercial farmland. As one Zimbabwean explained, the land belongs to us. The foreigners should not own land here. There is no black Zimbabwean who owns land in England. Why should any European own land here? After that, she says, watching Zimbabwe's economy take a free fall as a result of the mass land grab. The United States and United Kingdom, together with dozens of human rights groups, urged President Mugabe to step down, calling resoundingly for free and fair elections. Now, I did an entire video talking about the truth about Robert Mugabe. I did a video series that explained to you that Zimbabwe's economic free fall, as Amy Chua puts it, was the result of the U.S. and Britain putting a credit freeze on Zimbabwe. But Amy Chua conveniently leaves that out. You know, where I'm from, if you're not telling the whole truth, then you've told an entire lie. But, of course, things get better. Because Amy Chua talks about the Nigerians and other groups in Africa. But the first thing that she does is she talks about how she went to Africa herself, South Africa, and she was invited by one of the Dutch occupation squatters still there. Ain't that interesting? Amy Chua wasn't invited to Africa by the Africans. She was invited to Africa by the invaders. Now, she said that she went to Johannesburg, to the University of South Africa, and what a surprise, not a single black face in the room. And she goes on to say that she went to one of these Dutch squatters' homes, but, as she put it, Lucian's home turned out to include a private safari park covering not tens or hundreds, but thousands of acres of breathtakingly serene grassy slopes filled with waterfalls, streams, zebras, giraffes, hippo pools, ostriches, kingfishers, impala, kudu, gemsbok, seemingly every species of bird and antelope. We picnicked outside an 1800-era stone and timber-beamed farmhouse, which Marina's brother operated as an inn. Marina is Lucian's wife. And of course, lunch was served to us by a black manservant in a white jacket. She then goes on to say, the really amazing thing was that among whites in South Africa, Lucian and his wife Marina didn't count as wealthy. Lucian described himself to me as a struggling middle-class descendant of Boer farmers. Land, yes, they had. He and his family never ceased being grateful for and humbled by the beauty of their surroundings. By the way, she gives no mention of how they got it. But truth be told, his professor's salary was barely enough to cover his daughter's tuition and music lessons. Like many Afrikaners, Lucian was not at all interested in business. And how the hell he get all that land? She doesn't ask about the contradiction here. That was the province of the so-called English-speaking whites. South African whites fall into two general categories: Afrikaners, descendants of 17th century Dutch and French Huguenot settlers. She calls them settlers, not invaders. You need to read the history. These people came in at the barrel of a gun. Right after the Anglo-Zulu Wars ended, the Dutch immediately began slaughtering both British and Africans, and English speakers, most of whom have British origins. No mention of the genocide that took place. No mention of the Zulu-Anglo Wars. She's giving you a whitewashing of history. This is who you're taking history lessons from. Now she goes on to talk about Kenya. And what a surprise. I was kind of surprised that she talks about one of the guys who I talked on, Daniel Moai. But then she goes on to basically say that there are some prosperous Kenyans, mostly the Kikiyu. And then she talks about how they are somewhat envied by the other Kenyans. She tries to say that Jomo Kenyatta was the reason for this, that there was an unequal distribution of the wealth, which may well be true. But then she goes on to mention that as prosperous as the Kikiyu, some Kikiyu are in comparison to other Africans, none of them are as well off as the Asians in Kenya. None of them are as well off as the Asians in Kenya, specifically the Indians. She says, and I'm quoting from her book here, in Tanzania, for example, the turn from socialism to markets in the 1980s led to the re-emergence of the Indian minority as a powerful economic force. Majority fears that these outsiders would overwhelm and take over everything, led to bitter anti-Indian brutality. You know, that movie, The Last King of Scotland, dealt with that same thing in Uganda. You better start re-examining some of what the whites have been telling you about Africa's leaders. Because if you look, you'll see that Idi Amin was not some lunatic. That's how they sit there and address him. Same way they tried to do it with Robert Mugabe, until men like myself and others stood up and said, nah, we're going to challenge this version that the whites are putting forward. But Idi Amin, if you actually look, you'll see that that all of his reputation as being a mass slaughter and all the rest of it and a madman, it was put forward by blacks who the whites had previously put in positions of authority. That's where the myth of Idi Amin, the blood-drinking lunatic, came from. The British got some of their black lackeys to say this garbage, same way that you had Iraqis who were saying that Saddam Hussein was killing everyone. More Iraqis died under Bill Clinton's sanctions than died in the entirety of the Saddam Hussein regime. And that number has been now surpassed by the disastrous war in Iraq. So you better be careful about who you listen to when the media tells you these lies. But let me continue. Similarly, Zambia's very greedy Indians, who were once accused of purchasing the body parts of mutilated African children, were targeted in bloody mass riots in the mid-1990s. In one furious participant's words, Indians are the ones getting the chances. They've got millions and millions. In Kenya, after a failed military coup in 1982, the market-dominant Indian minority was confronted with the unleashed hatred of some of Kenya's 16 million African majority. And then she finally goes on to say, today with Kenya's Indian community prospering visibly from global markets, here's that international hand again, just as Amy Chua's family didn't come to prominence on their own, the Indians in Africa didn't either. Anti-Indian hostility continues to grow, occasionally exploding in ethnic riots and mass violence. Then she goes on to say, here's the topper, here's the icing on the cake, here's the point that she wanted to get to. As African opposition leaders intensified their ethnic hate-mongering, Kenneth Matiba has promised to expel the Asians from Kenya if he becomes president. Kenya's Indian minority finds itself uncomfortably dependent on the corrupt and increasingly authoritarian President Moi. Meanwhile, the U.S. government has for years been calling reflexively for more markets and more so-called democracy. Now, the point that I'm trying to make here is this. Amy Chua does not tell you about how the whites got into Africa. She doesn't talk about the white hate-mongering and the slaughters going on in Soweto, that was southwest province of Johannesburg. She doesn't talk about how the Boers came to power at the barrel of a gun. She doesn't talk about the Zulu-Anglo wars. She doesn't talk about the white African policies. But when it comes time to talk about the black folks, oh, she's going to tell you about the dirt that they've done. She's going to tell you about any Indian who stubbed their toe because an African pushed them. She's going to tell you about that. You're going to hear about that. And it's hate-mongering. And the Indians control the banks. In Western Africa, they control the banks in Kenya. They control the hotels. They control what little stock markets they have. The Indians have those African countries in an economic death grip. And yet, look at who the leaders are. The most corrupt autocrats. And who put these autocrats in power? The Indians did. Who keeps them in power? The Indians do. Where did Morgan Chirangi come from? That was not a grassroots movement. It was AstroTurf. Morgan Chirangi was produced, propped up, presented, and pushed by the 1% of white squatters in Zimbabwe. I told you this in the video. And Amy Chua has nothing of criticism to say about how the whites came to power. Oh, she sits there and hints at it around the periphery, around the margins. But she's not telling you the story, a whole story. When she talks about black people, oh, she's going to sit there and talk about the killing. She's going to sit there and the Asians are so oppressed. She's going to tell you about that part. And this is the person talking about the triple package. Yeah, she gives a pat on the head to the Nigerians, and she wants to see if they will respond as some black women have to getting a pat on the head. She wants to see if it'll work. But then when she talks about the Africans in her book, World on Fire, we get to the Arabs in Africa. My. What a very different story she tells.
Now, isn't it amazing that all of a sudden, I mean, this woman was all in favor of, and you'll notice this, the same thing happened in Iraq, same thing has happened in Egypt. They love democracy. The United States government and the Western powers, oh, everything, democracy is just wonderful. It's an excuse to come in and kill tens of thousands of your people in the middle of the streets if need be. Democracy is a perfect instrument, just so long as the election results go the way that we want them to. Because if we're in a situation where the election results do not go the way that we want to, all of a sudden democracy becomes bad, it becomes evil, it becomes a problem. I found that to be very interesting there, Professor Truth, how the pathology doesn't change. Democracy is wonderful so long as you vote the way we want you to.
Absolutely. You have free choice. You're free to choose what we tell you to. Now, here's a little factoid that she mentions in her book, talking about the Lebanese. Now, you're about to notice that there's going to be a very different change, a tonal change, how she describes things. She says that the most powerful people in Sierra Leone, the place that became synonymous with blood diamonds, are Lebanese immigrants. But who ran Sierra Leone's diamond industry for years before the rebels took it over? A tiny handful of principally Lebanese dealers. This is what she says in her book. The extent of Lebanese market dominance in Sierra Leone is astounding. The first Lebanese arrived in Sierra Leone around 1895. Unlike the Europeans who were unable or unwilling to penetrate the bush, notice how she's describing the Africans, she's framing it. The Lebanese headed straight for the interior of the country. Now, people like Ivan Van Sertima and Joseph Benyakin have already told you that this is a myth of the jungle empires, but here Amy Chua is pushing this garbage in her first book. Before long, Lebanese traders could be found on every street corner peddling mirrors, beads, pomatum, iron, pocket knives, jewelry, and cheap imported textiles to their African customers. Now, that doesn't make any sense. If you're heading into the bush among a bunch of savages, presumably, how the hell are you sitting here selling them goods? And the Lebanese did not just sell, they also bought produce. Here we go. The benevolent colonizers. They bought produce from African farmers, which they held until prices rose and then transported and sold to European farms. Now here she is. She's not sitting here telling you about the doggone skullduggery that the Lebanese engaged in with the Europeans.
Well, furthermore, what she's saying there doesn't make sense the way it's being described. They bought produce and held on to it. How the hell do you hold on to produce? Produce only has a shelf life of a week or two, at the very most. I think what she means to say is that they took a bunch of land and they started farming it and making produce from the land, and they just held on to it until prices for produce went up. I think that's what she meant to say.
Well, when she was talking about the Kikiyu in Kenya and talking about the Igbo of Nigeria, she basically says these guys are more prosperous than their other African neighbors. But she doesn't sit here and heap praise on them or tell you how hardworking and industrious they are. She just basically says, oh, they're more prosperous, blah, 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 and moves right along. She doesn't even delve into it. But, when it comes time to talk about the Asians, she gets into it. She's not going to sit there and just gloss that over. She's going to go into detail to tell you how hardworking and industrious these invaders are. Quote, with their profits from street trading, the Lebanese opened shops, displacing rival indigenous traders, mostly so-called Creoles from the coast, was easy. The Lebanese worked from dawn to dusk and had much lower overheads. They spent practically nothing on lodging, often sleeping on the same counter where meals were prepared and eaten. Moreover, because of their reputation for industriousness and commercial acumen, European firms were disposed to grant Lebanese long-term credit. It was the European firms who granted Lebanese long-term credit. She's sitting here selling in her book. An advantage they exploited to the hilt. Even when she tries to lie on their behalf, at some point she's got to explain the Lebanese were sitting here opening shops and all, but let's go ahead and in passing, but European firms gave the Lebanese long-term credit, and I wonder how big those credit grants were.
What did any Africans qualify for any? Never mind.
You can read her book. Didn't even mention it. Now, she goes on to say that by the 1920s, the Lebanese had established themselves as indispensable middlemen, linking European firms located in Freetown with African consumers and producers in the interiors. Notice how she goes into detail about the Lebanese. She's sitting here giving you stories about them. They were sleeping on the same counters where meals were prepared and eaten. But when she was talking about the Nigerians and talking about the Kikiyu in Kenya, she doesn't go into detail like that. She's not sitting here painting a picture of hard-working, industrious Africans. Instead, all she says is they're more prosperous than their other African brethren. Then she says Jomo Kenyatta gave it to them. And she doesn't sit here and talk about the Africans as having any sort of economic acumen. She just basically says they're more prosperous, it was given to them, and then she just glosses it over. So for any of you out there who are giving Amy Chua a pat on the back for anything, you better examine what she actually thinks of Africans. She's pushing the same Asians and Europeans worked for it. The Africans were given it line that white supremacy always pushes. I hope you don't think it was an accident that this pedestrian pseudo-academic hack came to prominence. Now, we're not going to get into Amy Chua's husband, but let's just say that if Juju Chang is any indication, Amy Chua basically had not just a Jewish husband, but a Jewish sponsor. Now, I'm not going to go into the rest of her book. I can only hold my nose for so long. But the point that I'm trying to make is this. Amy Chua describes the Jews and the Chinese and the Asians largely as those who are very successful as being middlemen, quote unquote, and says that seems to be the economic sweet spot for these groups who are disproportionately successful in foreign lands. They find a niche for themselves as middlemen. Did the whites of South Africa become middlemen? She's making no sense here, but then again, she's not trying to. And when you look at the back cover of her newest book, The Triple Package, she sits there and tries to say that the Nigerians have outperformed African Americans. Now, I did a post on Facebook last night where I was explaining that it really is a joke for her to claim that culture is the dividing line between the successful groups and the unsuccessful ones, which, by the way, I agree with to an extent. And then she ignores the fact that Nigerians who come to the U.S. have their names, they have their religion, they have their folkways, their mores, and their African minds. And they often have degrees. I mean, even an Asian American, Mr. Khan Ho, he points that out. These Nigerians who are showing up with graduate degrees. Meanwhile, the African Americans What culture do they have? African Americans don't really have a culture per se. What we have are bits and pieces of self-expression. We have some music over here, a couple of athletes over there, and a couple of comedians and freedom fighters over there. We don't really have a culture per se. We speak the language of our enslavers. We worship their God. We have a history that was handed to us by them, a history in which they were portrayed as the heroes, and we are portrayed as slaves, and later on as a couple of political agitators. African Americans do not have a culture of their own. So you see black people like Robin Roberts and others trying to glom on to whomever walks into the room. You know, it's very interesting. There's an Italian-American professor called Fred Gardefei, and he works at the City College of New York. I think Dr. John Henry Clark was there as well. And he pointed out that Italian Americans, by and large, deny their Italianness. You can look at how many times Sylvester Stallone has played in the movies. Sylvester Stallone has only played an Italian a couple of times. He usually plays Anglos most of the time. Like in The Expendables, he plays a character named Barney Ross. And the same thing goes for Leonardo DiCaprio. And the same thing goes for even guys like Marlon Brando, Don Amici, and others. They didn't play Italians. They played Anglo-Americans most of the time. And Fred Gardefei pointed out, what do you say about a group of people who try to get their identity from others? He said a group of people who don't see anything when they look in the mirror. He said, what do you call a creature that looks in the mirror and has no reflection? He said, you call it a vampire. And a vampire tries to suck the blood from others, tries to draw life force and meaning from others. And this is an Italian-American saying this. And he's dead on the money. African Americans have been sitting here with Anglo names, French names, German names, Italian names, Spanish names. They're not wearing their own names. What culture do we have? Your culture is inherently tied to your history. What history do you know? You came from savages. And that white man gave you gainful employment because apparently you didn't have any in Africa. And everything was fine until you niggers got uppity. Your poverty is the result of the fact that you didn't know your place. Nigerians come on the scene and they don't have that coming with them. So Amy Chua should have known that. She should have asked, what African-American culture is there? But in her mind, gangster rap is black culture. In her mind, welfare moms are black culture. It doesn't even occur to her to ask, is black culture comparable to Nigerian culture? If she had looked, she would have seen, wait a minute, there is no real black culture. There's just bits and pieces and fragments of self-expression. That's the reason why Jason and I are here doing this. I do the videos where I tell you that we're in the shape that we're in because black culture is in complete and thorough disarray. It's fragmented, disintegrated, crushed, destroyed. And it has to be reinvented. But it won't be reinvented by us trying to take bits and pieces and hoots and hollers from the Germans and the whites or the Asians. That ain't going to work. Culture is inherently tied to a group's collective experiences. But it's also tied to whether or not that group can see themselves as a people and ask, what is it that we want? Who are we? What do we do? What is our place in the world? And how do we intend to pursue it? That's where culture comes from. Culture is a group's institutional habits. Our habits have been working for the benefit of others, thanking massa for a few crumbs of bread, and trying to find our meaning by getting the approbation and the support of others, which is why we are pathetically in 2014 trying to forge black-brown alliances when they don't have a snowball's chance in hell of working. The Hispanics have already made it clear they don't want to be allies with us, and here we are steadily trying to be allies with them. What a farce. Amy Chua tells half-truths, mistruths, and untruths. And her largely white backers are pushing it to the hilt. And I'm just waiting to see how many black people will support it. People like Kelly Goff, who cannot bring herself to say that Amy Chua's latest book is racist, when even Asians have done that. Asians have said that book, her latest book, is racist. They have identified that she's using the Nigerians as a crash dummy to ward off any criticism of her book. She's hoping to deflect criticism by saying, look, I found some Africans that I'm praising, but I've already shown you from her first book that she only gives passing mention to black industriousness. She saves her praise for the Arabs and the Indians. This is the new face of white supremacy. They're doing an end run. It's going to be the method is going to be a little more complicated, but the ends will be the same. It's going to be a little bit more complex, but they're still going to get to the same destination. Now, I know that we got some brothers from the motherland who listen. We have a few who call in. Some of your parents might have gone along with the okie doke, and they should have known better. And it says a lot that Africans would be willing to co-sign the skullduggery that Asians have been bringing, when even the Asians have said, you know what, we're here for ourselves. Everything about Amy Chua's work contradicts itself. You cannot sit here and say that a group comes to power because of how industrious they are, and yet at the same time say that Europeans gave them credit, and you won't even gave them lending credit and won't even tell us how much they got. This was not grassroots, it was AstroTurf. You cannot sit here and tell me that you see clearly what's happening in Africa when you admit that you were invited to South Africa by a Dutch squatter. And then you go to have lunch at his home, and you never confront him or ask him, hey, how'd you guys get this spread in the first place? Oh, we just showed up and nobody was here, and we just settled down, and nobody's been doing anything ever since. That's exactly what the Dutch say in South Africa. They say that, why, we showed up and nobody was here. Then who the hell were they having wars with? You read about the Dutch having to shoot their way in. If nobody was there, who the hell were they shooting at? This is the lie of white supremacy, and an Asian face is going to sell it now. But I found most interesting of all, not surprising, but still interesting, when Amy Chua talks about the Jews in her book World on Fire, specifically the oligarchs of Russia who wound up getting run out of town on a rail by Vladimir Putin, she says that the Jews in Russia got their prominence by being great middlemen. Middlemen, and yet they're the ones who own everything. They're at the top of the food chain. That ain't a middleman. But then again, Amy Chua has, just like Juju Chang, has chosen to be a sock puppet of her Jewish benefactors. Now, I'm not blaming her necessarily for choosing to be their puppet, but what I am saying is that as black people, as an African people, you better start asking some serious questions about these people who you are giving support to. What is their agenda? Dr. John Henrik Clarke said that the question the African should have asked both the Asian and the European was, what is your intention in my home? What is your intention in our home? Before you sit here calling yourself becoming an ally with somebody, you might want to ask what it is that they want. Because what they want may be your place in the world. What they want may be what you've got. This kind of talk is going to rub some people the wrong way. Good. Because I know that some of you in here probably did like Robin Roberts. Yeah, my mom was a strict tiger mom. Good. She can use you as her crash dummy as she pushes her agenda. Because her current book uses black people to deflect criticism of racism. Her next book will be hitting black people full in the face. Because the goal was never to congratulate black people or Nigerians on their industriousness. Her agenda has always been from the jump to push white supremacy in the 21st century, and that agenda is working. and the whites who she is repping, the whites whose position she is masquerading for, they in turn are simply looking at Asia rising in the world, and they're trying to pat some Asians on the head to get their support. Their Amy Chua is herself being used, and she's cool with that. That's fine by me, as long as she doesn't try to mislead my people. That's where we part company. You go ahead and be a willing idiot, a useful idiot for white supremacy if you want. But I'll be damned if I let you sit here and try to sweet talk my people into going along with it. I mean, look at what Juju Chang did. My mom was a tiger mom. I describe myself as a tiger cub. And I know you were raised the same way too, right, Robin? And Robin couldn't wait to say, yep, me too, me too, me too. Robin Roberts trying to get her identity from somebody else, trying to get a pat on the head from somebody else. Black people, you need to take a look at this, because as Asians become the dominant group on college campuses, do you see them making any room for you? I mean, Juju Chang and her family benefited mightily from the struggles of black people, but I don't see her making any room for black folks. I can't think of any black people who she's ever lauded like this. And as Asians gain more and more power, what is it? I think that the last comptroller of New York was Asian. And the Asians are getting their piece of the pie because they're using their economy, which was propped up and created by black people patronizing Asian restaurants and Asian dry cleaners. They are using their economy to get more and more disproportionate power for themselves. I'm thinking of Jason's home state, Louisiana, Sheriff Lee of Orleans Parish. Sheriff Lee of Orleans Parish, who after Hurricane Katrina couldn't wait to dump some dirt on black people. By the way, as Ray Nagin now gets ready to begin his stint in prison, presumably right alongside Kwame Kilpatrick, I'm just wondering, is white supremacy going to start taking down, are they going to start taking down people like Sheriff Lee? I doubt it. And if they try, the Asian Americans are ready because they have an economy in place. I remember in the 1990s reading one of Michael Crichton's novels, Rising Sun. Michael Crichton was noted as much for his writing as he was for how well researched his books were. And in the book Rising Sun, he was talking about the Japanese influence in America. And one of the things that he pointed out was the Japanese were already preparing themselves for the fact that it might get harder for them to get into the U.S., and that they were going to use their economy to ensure that that wouldn't be a permanent bar. And he was right. He was absolutely right. Now, the reason that we bring all this up and the reason that we highlight Amy Chua is not just because of her propagandistic value, but because of the fact that as black people, you need to understand, she's writing these books and getting her viewpoint out there, and it's getting over. A lot of people, it's getting pushed to the hilt. Yeah, it's getting a lot of enemies, but it's also getting a lot of support, especially on college campuses. College campuses where you are not represented. College campuses where the next generation of the winners is coming from. I told you, and I'm going to keep telling you, the haves are exterminating the have-nots. As Warren Buffett put it, if it's a class war, my class is winning. I don't have a problem with a class war, just as long as I see black people winning it. We are not winning the class war, we're losing it. We're losing it on all fronts. We're being used and abused all over the globe. And we need to start seeing these people for what they are. They are not our friends. You don't have any friends anywhere on this planet. Get over it. Stop looking for a pat on the head, because that pat on the head is usually followed by a sock to the jaw and finally with a stab in the back. I'm looking at ABC News and I'm looking at Robin Roberts. Now, I don't know who Robin Roberts is married to, but I don't know who this white woman is that Robin Roberts is allegedly engaged with. but I doubt that she is anybody of any power, wealth, and influence. Most black people who shack up with a white person rarely get with such an individual. But I do know about Juju Chang's husband, Neil Shapiro. Neil Shapiro, I believe he still is the head of the PBS affiliate in New York. And he also was a news producer at ABC News. What a surprise. I'm shocked, simply shocked. She didn't get with some Jew who was just an investment banker. She got with a guy who could make sure that her position in the world was guaranteed. And the same thing goes for other Asian women. I'm thinking about Julie Chen here. Julie Chen married to the president of CBS television, Les Moonves. These Asian women make sure that they get with men who are going to be able to ensure their position. And then you sit here and let them talk to you as if you have something in common with them. Absolute lunacy. You know, Jason, tonight is not the kind of talk that most people are used to, and is part of the reason why we have to have a forum like this. I could not go anywhere else and be able to talk to my people and give this kind of in-depth knowledge about the propaganda out there. It couldn't happen anywhere else, and it's not happening anywhere else. But I'll tell you right now that what Amy Chua is pushing is happening in a lot of places. She's not alone. The next phase of the B1 Brigade has got to be more of this. Some of you who are in here have already been getting, the B1 Brigade boot camp. Because the truth is indeed a virus, but this strain, the B1 strain of the truth virus, has got to spread. It's got to metastasize. It's got to spread. So those of you who are getting this truth, simply put, if I may use a sports analogy, you're up next. Because Amy Chua is out there repping white supremacy all day, every day. She's repping Asian first. It's up to you to rep black first. Nicole Dunca knows about it. CNN knows about it. Sane knows about it. And before it's all over, I want to make sure that Amy Chua and those who are supporting her know about it too. I want to make sure that when black people put out a book or put out an article, the world takes notice. I want them to tremble, because we live in a world where people only respect that which they fear. And right now, nobody's scared of us. Your thugs ain't going to make people afraid. You know who's going to make people afraid? People like Julius Malema in South Africa. They're going to make people afraid. Robert Mugabe's going to make people afraid. Jomo Kenyatta made people afraid. Lumumba made people afraid. That's why these guys are not in power anymore. That's why they had to be killed. The B1 Brigade makes people afraid. And we must stop being worried about making people afraid. Yes, they're going to say stuff, but you know what? Robert Mugabe had a lot of people griping and complaining about him, and now those same people, when they realize they can't oust him, they're having to make their peace with him. They're hoping to cut a deal with him now. There is no substitute for standing on principle. There is no substitute for sticking to your guns. People will not respect you if all they have to do is give you a pat on the head and watch as your tail wags and your tongue pants. Robin Roberts may think that that's a career strategy, but it just don't work. Ask Tyler Perry. Lionsgate treated him as the belle of the ball. Yeah, and I'm using a bitch analogy to describe him. They used him as the belle of the ball until they got a taste of real power, a taste of real success with the Hunger Games. Now Tyler Perry can't get Lionsgate to return his phone calls. When's the last time Lionsgate's backed him to the hilt? As far as they're concerned, they're through with the Chitlin circuit. And now Tyler Perry is hoping that Oprah Winfrey can keep him afloat. Give me a break. Black people, you don't have any allies. Stop looking for them. You better look to each other. You are all you've got. Now, Amy Chua, I'm sure, is working on her next book, which will be no more truthful and no more enlightening and no more substantive than her last ones. What is our response going to be? I asked you in my video, blackface and white and yellow, what are you going to do about it? The Asians are squatting up. They're portraying you in all kinds of ways. They're walking hand in hand with white supremacy. And your response has got to be better than just to cluck your teeth and shake your head. That ain't going to do it. Your response has got to be to squad up and to rep black first hard. You've got to. You're not going to have a choice. But there's something about homosexuals that white supremacy likes. The first thing that they like about homosexuals is you ain't going to produce a next generation of black people. They like that. But the second thing that they like is black culture, such as it is for what passes for our culture, does not embrace homosexuality. So they pretty much know that if you're black and homosexual, you've probably found yourself on the outs with black people. They probably don't accept you very readily because of your lifestyle choice. So white supremacy pretty much knows that they've got a ready and willing recipient for their point of view, because they'll go ahead and give you a pat on the head. Oh, those black people, they're not very open-minded. Oh, shouldn't they be more sensitive? Look at all they've been through. Now, you know dang well that ain't a gay person on this planet who can sit there and identify with black people in the U.S. When's the last time that you had a group of homosexuals who were turned into a slave class for 350 years? When's the last time you had homosexuals being lynched and being singled out for that kind of treatment? When's the last time that four lesbian girls were firebombed in a church? When's the last time that somebody ran around specifically killing gay rights activists? And I don't want to hear about Harvey Milk. Harvey Milk was killed as a political killing. The guy who killed him was angry because Harvey Milk had essentially put an end to his political ambitions and relegated him to irrelevance, because he also went and shot Mayor Muskogee too, and Mayor Muskogee was not gay. So don't tell me about Harvey Milk. Gays have never been targeted. Gays have never had to worry about affirmative action because homosexuals have been in charge. They've run the yard. Gays don't worry about Hollywood demonizing them because gays run the yard in Tinseltown. So I don't want to hear any comparison to homosexuals and black people. There is no comparison. Deal with it. And you know what? I don't want to hear a comparison between black people and Asians either. There ain't an Asian American on this planet who can identify with you. And I don't want to hear about coolie laborers in Jamaica or in Kenya. The whites have long used the strategy of a buffer group in order to enforce their power. That's what the coolies are. That is what the coloreds of South Africa are. That is what the Tagalog speakers of the Philippines are. When the Spanish first invaded the Philippines, they found black people there. The Negritos are the indigenous people of the Philippines, been there for the last 25,000 years. And yet, who is the dominant group now? That buffer group of Asians, the so-called Tagalog speakers, who themselves are largely transplants from Asia.
There is not one speck of land on this entire planet that indigenous white people resided on that they can point to and say that black people are standing there today. Not a one. Not a single one. And that one factoid alone, by itself, singularly, tells you everything that you need to know. It tells you everything. We're going to go ahead and see about open up the phone lines here. The number is 646-787-1933. That's 646-787-1933 is your personal access code to the only intelligent black media on the face of the planet Earth today, and it's okay. Brothers and sisters, you now have our permission to throw away your cable boxes. Ain't nothing good there for you anyway. You can go ahead and forget about the cable news networks. What the news they're giving you is really nothing new. It's not even the olds, people. It's just the dumbs. You need to be here. Because once we've spoken on it, you really got everything you need to know. And yes, as you can tell, we are comprehensive. They are reprehensible. Now, caller 336, is this Jay on the line?
Yes. Jason, this is James Matthew also.
Now, I asked you to call in for a reason because you made a statement in the chat room I thought could benefit from further examination. A little bit of closer scrutiny to it. Now, you made the statement that what we need to do is see about boycotting the Asians in the black neighborhoods and whatnot. Now, my question, however, is how exactly would something like that work?
Well, basically, we gotta have like our own manufacturing, distribution. We have to basically start our own businesses to counter that, because that's why the Asians really don't respect us, is because we're giving them our money and they can treat us some type of way. And I remember you saying that when white men get tired of something, get tired of a burger joint, they create something. So when black people, we can't keep on complaining about the Asian treatment, but we're not doing something to counter it.
Okay, why don't you give me some specifics?
Basically, when you go in the Asian store, they're like very disrespectful. They follow you around.
No. I mean, give me some specifics about what we need to do, quote, to counter that. Give me some specifics.
Basically, we need to make it like a national. We need to use social media to counter, try to get as many black folks to practice group economics as possible, and explain the situation to them that we keep on carrying our money out. It's just going to even make us more deprived of our economics in our neighborhood. It's just going to take all the money out and just empower the Asians instead of empowering us. So we need to basically go to I would say African countries, try to do businesses so we can have our hair products and start selling in our neighborhoods.
Okay. Now, I was planning on getting into this on another broadcast, but since you mentioned it tonight, I decided I might as well go ahead and say something now. Now, I want you to understand exactly what you're saying there, okay? Now, I asked you for specifics. I asked you for specifics twice. However, you did not actually give us any. You basically said we need to open up our own businesses and we need to do trade with Africa. But that is not actually a specific. We got it when you said, well, we need to counter them by opening our own businesses. We got that the first time. So I'm going to give you one more crack at the bat here now. Can you give us some specifics of exactly what we need to do? And I'm not doing this to impugn you. I'm trying to have a teaching moment for everybody here because I want them to understand something. But I want you to take one more try at it here and tell us exactly what do we need to do.
Oh, man, I can't even. I'm trying to think.
Okay, I'll tell you that you were tacking in the right direction when you said that about selling our own hair. Let me explain to you all exactly how this type of thing works. There is a reason that boycotting non-black businesses in the black neighborhood have failed in the past. They never work. And the reason that they never work is because Nancy Reagan's strategy of just say no is a farce. It is not enough to just have something to say no to. You must have something to say yes to. The answer to white racism or white supremacy is what, brothers and sisters? What is the answer to white supremacy, James?
Black empowerment.
Okay, so if I encounter a bigoted Korean hair store, what specifically needs to be done?
Black empowerment. I just lost. Sorry about that. I just lost my train of thought. I apologize, brother.
Welcome to the fail road. Now, the solution to a bigoted Korean hair store is a black hair store. The solution to a white supremacist grocery store is a black grocery store. The solution to a redneck white car repair shop is a black one. You see it now?
Yes, sir. I get what
It
now I
is
get what
not
you're saying. Thank you.
enough to simply say we need our own businesses. We have to know exactly what we're opening up. And
Got
too
you.
often,
Got
brother,
you.
it's not a plan to say we need to open a business. Open up, take a look at the yellow pages. Do you see how many businesses there are in there? We got to get
sir.
beyond. We got to get beyond sloganeering. And I know that's not what you
I
were
get what
trying
you're
to
saying.
do, but that's what most black folk do. We have to get beyond sloganeering. We have to get beyond placards and bumper stickers. We have to get beyond mottos. And we have to get to concretes. Now, I put up a post earlier today that said that we should have a Black Wall Street in every black neighborhood in America. Now, do you know what that would be? The Black Wall Street, in some cases, they were good-sized areas, but in other cases, they were not. In other cases, they were not, but then again, they don't need to be. If we got a shopping plaza, that thing needs to have a big-ass sign up there that says the Black Wall Street. You hear what I'm saying?
Yes, Jason.
Now, what city are you in?
I'm in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. You know
Okay,
the state
when
bus
you go-
company that,
Yeah. When you go to the shopping plazas there, whether they got Winston Shopping Plaza or whatever, Southside Shopping Plaza, you know the big sign out front of their shopping plaza. That son of a gun needs to say Black Wall Street. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Just like they put those things up.
Yeah.
Welcome to Summerside Shopping Plaza. We need to have a welcome to Black Wall Street Shopping Plaza. That's what we need to have. Now, TBA. Now, understand something. This is the Black Channel, brother. We take you all the way there. Now, what does a Black Wall Street look like in the 21st century? See, this is the only place that discusses this. Nobody else can discuss this with you, and that's why they've made no progress. This is what a Black Wall Street looks like in the 21st century, James. This is what it looks like. Take a look at the paradigm that exists today. Now, as I explained to the nitwit who called in last week, who knew absolutely nothing about real estate development. Now, let's see if we can ask him and then listen to what I say this week and see which one of us sounds like they actually have a damn clue what they're talking about. Whenever you are building a shopping plaza, what do you start with? What do real estate developers look for when they start? They look for an anchor tenant. One large retailer that they can build out from. Now, usually today, what they look for is a Target or a Walmart. But on a smaller level, they'll start with a grocery store. If we can get a Kroger's and Albertsons, something like that, we can start there and build out. Because everybody needs food. And they start with something that deals with the basic necessities. A food store or a clothing store. Because everybody needs food and everybody needs clothes. That's what you start with. We're going to start with a food store or a clothing store. Next to that, we need to put up a dollar store. A place where we can buy cheaper items, like they got everything for $1 or just $1 or Family Dollar or Dollar General. Y'all getting the point?
yes, sir.
That's what the next thing needs to be, right next to your grocery store. Okay? Right next to it. So first we got a place for our people to buy their food with their people. Onto that, we put a dollar store so that we can buy cheaper foods with, not cheaper foods, but other items, non-food items with our people. Next to that, we make a clothing store. If you're going to buy your Roka wear, and if you're going to buy the Nikes, they might as well be from a black retailer. You see what we've done so far? Brother, just those three things alone, the Black Wall Street is reborn. The Black Wall Street is reborn.
So we also to market it, we should utilize Facebook, Twitter, and all types of social media. Try to get black people to go, and radio stations too.
It should be mandatory.
And, public figure.
It should be mandatory. We need to use social media as the means that we let our people know that you are on code or you are off code.
Yeah, sure.
If you are going to Black Wall Street Plaza, thumbs up, big likes, you're on code. This nigga over here talking about he went over here to Amy Chua Plaza. This nigga off code. Yeah, I got my Nikes over here at Amy's place. Y'all need to be lighting his ass up on Facebook, Twitter, and everything. He needs to get lit up. It needs to be laughing at him, joking at him. Y'all need to put up cartoons about him. You need to make it clear in no uncertain terms. This buster-ass Negro is off code.
Yeah, Jason, I noticed that like whenever Mexicans here in Winston, they mainly do business with other Mexicans, and if a Mexican goes to like a non-Mexican shop, they get like literally cussed out. They're just looking at him crazy.
In Spanish.
Like, why did you do that?
In Spanish. His people check him. And I mentioned this years ago on the Black Channel. You could not be a Latina and walk past a Mexican restaurant to go eat at the soul food restaurant. You can't do that. Could you imagine, and you live in one of the Confederate states there, but you're talking about, man, the code is already enforced for them here. And you're in a Confederate state, just like I am, but it's true, the code's already enforced. Just like it is in California and Texas, the code is set up wherever they are. It doesn't matter, and as they move, the code moves with them. So if you are a Latino, and you walk past a Latino shop to go to a non-Latino place, your people put you in check. If you're lucky, they'll yell at you. If you're not so lucky, you might catch a brick upside the head. They let you know in no uncertain terms, you are off code. You're off code. We don't do that. What you mean, we? They grab you by your collar. We. This was not a request. You are off code. If it's something that you can get from your people, you have no business doing something different. And that is what we should be doing as black folk in a black neighborhood. It's not enough to complain about the Arabs. We need to build a brand new black business establishment. Whatever the Arab is doing, the Asian is doing, whatever, you need to be right across the street from his ass. You need to have your own black establishment. Period.
Jason, like the person, let's say for Black Wall Street, necessarily, if the person that's going to design it should be like a black architect, right? Mainly black carpenters go in to fix all the different vendor shops, whatever. Just mainly 100% black owned.
Yes, but what I'm saying is that,
if it's like,
do you see how that spreads out? Go ahead.
Because I was about to say, if it's not, if like one of the builders are not black owned, will it still, like if it's like somebody, like an architect didn't work when it was like non-black, will it still be considered black? That's what I was just trying to understand.
Well, no, brother. I'm saying that when it can be black, it needs to be.
Gotcha.
That's what Latinos, Asians, everybody else do. They don't do business with a non outside their group unless there's no other choice. Period. Unless there is no other choice.
So I was just thinking to myself, when we're about to kick out the Asians, will they start respecting us more? Like right when we're about to kick them out of our communities and stuff, and fully practice group economics, that's when they start just start being nice because they're losing money and we're economically draining them.
I'm not understanding what you mean.
No, I'm saying when we're practicing, when you say with Black Wall Street, like when we're when the Asians are losing money, like will they start treating us nice since since we're going to be economically draining them and stuff? Because
their attitudes will change when the customer base gets up and walks out. Their attitude will change. Here's the point, though, brother. We're not doing this to change their attitudes. We're doing this to change our condition. So once Black Wall Street gets going, there is no going back to the way old things were. We're not going back to that. This is not about getting their respect or getting their liking or getting great customer service from them. Brother, I said the solution, not the response.
Solution, gotcha.
We will do business with a black retailer until these Asians act right. No. The solution to your bigoted ass is black empowerment. As a matter of fact, it doesn't matter if you're the nicest merchant in town. Our preferred position is not here. Our preferred position is black empowerment.
We can also give jobs to a lot of black men in the inner city that are very unemployed, and that can help out too, and can reduce the crime rate, because a lot of our crime rate is based on economics.
Well, yeah, I mean, crime is a function of economics. Where people have money, they don't have to engage in crime. So, like I say, I mean, that's basically the way it works. That's basically the way it works. But, brother, the answer to what we need to do there is a black Wall Street. That's the answer to it. But we got to be specific. And once we have it up and going, everybody needs to be on code. And from there, you can build out. Like I say, I mean, you see how the shopping plazas in your area, first they start with just 2 or 3 little stores. Next thing you know, they got the whole damn block. Next thing you know, they got 2 blocks. And that's what we should be doing. That is the successful formula, and we need to replicate that. And from there, your black grocery store can get black produce vendors, and you can get, your black electricians. We can go from there, brother. I mean, it goes from there. Don't have to worry about the illegals on the job and whatnot, because our stores are going to be specifically built by our people.
That's the thing, Jason, because I noticed that a lot of Hispanics are like our community's deteriorating, and I know that's everywhere in America, but it's like the Hispanics are coming in our community and just setting up shop, and our people are still outsourcing our money to non-black people. And I'm like, they're complaining about, like, why these people coming in our community. I just don't get that. And it's like, we cannot even do that to no non-black group, but it's like we allow them to do that to us.
Well, I mean, we've got the dumb among us, okay? We know that. We got the ignorant with the plantation mindset. Massa gonna provide. Massa gonna provide. And that is the purpose of things like the Black Channel. We have to run them off. When we set up our power base, it must be unapologetic and uncompromising. And everybody who's not on board, as Malcolm X said, everybody who don't show up, we're gonna run them out of town.
Gotcha. Because we have to be weird, because we have a lot of black traders that are going to try to derail the plan, because, the first thing the media is going to say, because whenever black people try to do for ourselves, they're like, oh, that's racist.
Well, we're not going to, okay, but we have given you all the vocabulary and the intellectual ammunition that you need to stop that. You know what race is, James, what is racism?
Racism, like Claude Anderson said, he said it's a power relationship between one group has all the power, wealth, and resources, using all the power, wealth, and resources against another group.
Based on the color of their skin.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, black people have never and do not fit that definition. So when anybody tries to try that with you about that, you tell them, no, you're an idiot, that's not racism. You explain what racism is, and then that's it. And let them try to figure out how to make you as a black person fit that qualification. They're going to tie themselves in knots trying to do that, because it cannot be done. When you all start giving the right responses, it shuts people up.
They're going to use the excuse, oh, well, we're all like humans, because I hear that all the time. And then they try to go to religion. We're all one child of God.
Okay, well, that's a different conversation altogether. But where black business is concerned, no, that racism simply cannot exist, because we are not victimizing anybody else with our economy. Mm-hmm. We're not victimizing anybody. You can't show us and tell them that, no, we don't practice racism at all. Everybody is welcome to come here. Everybody. Tell them we don't discriminate against customers. Everybody is welcome to come here. Everybody will get the same level of service. Now, your Asian store can't say that. And you need to be clear about that and tell them, now, the Asian store can't say that. He can't say that everybody gets the same level of service. But ours can. So, yeah, there is a racist situation going on, but it's not here. It's over there with the folk you're standing with. That's where the racism is. Simple as that. But brother, I've explained to you right now, those are the specifics about what we need to do. Now the real question is who's going to do it. You set up one shop with one anchor tenant. Make sure you're properly funded, which means you have to have 5 times as much as it costs you to open up. You do that and you'll succeed. You won't just make a go of it, you'll succeed.
Getting your credit score right so banks can give you can feel trusted and give you a large amount of loan, right? So you can start your own anchor tenant, whatever.
Well, you need that too. Once you all get your money right, you're going to find out that things will become a lot easier. Black men are the only men I've ever met who try to figure out how to open up a business with no money.
They said that the average business fails like within 2 to 3 years or 2 to 5. And he said it's lack of resources. That's the reason why, the main reason which causes it to fail, and capital too.
It's being undercapitalized. Most businesses fail within 3 to 5 years because they are undercapitalized. That simply means they did not have enough money to stay in business. They had enough money to open up. They did not have enough money to stay in business. So that's basically where it comes from. I'll let you ask one more. I'll let you ask one more question, and then I'll need to get another caller.
Gotcha. Have you seen Hidden Colors 3? Because Shahrazad Ali said something that was brilliant that jumped out. Have you seen it yet?
No, I don't live in the city where Hidden Colors is playing, but I'll get it on. I have to get it on DVD because I don't live in a city where it's playing at. Once he gets them back in stock, that is, of course. So y'all need to go make sure you've got your pre-orders for that in, because Tariq blew out in 1 day is what happened. So the message is not getting around. The message is clearly already around. But yes, we need to. Yeah. We've been talking about this stuff. Now we need to move beyond just talking about it, because it is worthless for Tariq to make Hidden Colors and Shahrazad Ali and Dick Gregory and Dr. Anderson and Neely Fuller and all these people to talk their heads red, blue, and green if we don't walk out that theater and start doing it. At that point, it's totally worthless. If all we're going to do is watch it and then go home and say, well, somebody will do it. Once you do that, you've made it worthless and you've turned into a traitor to it. Plain and simple. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight, brother. Please do give us a call again. I hope I helped explain things better for you there. Let's go ahead and see if we can grab caller from 817. You're on live with the Black Channel.
Black first, brother. This is Kane from Dallas, Texas.
And what's on your mind?
I have 2 points to make. But first, I would like to say I did contribute to the not the 7 a.m. I will, but I did get the other movie, Hidden Colors 3. I bought it the other day. The points I would like to make is I'm touching on what you just finished the conversation on. I was in the donut shop with my daughter the other morning, and everything's overpriced, even at the donut shops that the Asians own. We got 2 juices and 3 donuts, and I paid $10 for it. And it kind of pissed me off. So I made the comment, shoot, I need to open up a donut shop. Didn't notice that I had 3 brothers behind me. They started laughing. So I turned around and I made the comment, no, I'm serious. And I was very serious about that. My wife and I, we are going into business right now. We've started a venture to open up a laundromat. This is the first time I'm revealing this to anyone. I haven't revealed to any friends, family members, co-workers, anybody. But we've got everything in the works and rolling. But the thing is about it is the only other laundromats in my area here in Dallas are owned by Asians.
That's right.
And I'm telling you, brother.
Brother, you can't listen to me. Listen to me. I'm not cutting you off here. How old are you?
I'm 40 years old.
Okay, you and I are about the same age, brother. Addison, Richardson, Mesquite, Plano, 75, 635. Mockingbird
I'm in
Lane.
Duncanville.
Okay. Have I named off enough here to let you know that's my stomping grounds?
Oh yeah.
Since okay, other folk out there will just talk about it. I'm one of the only people right here who can, brother. I mean, back in 93, 94, Ron Kirk, and I knew there were problems back then, because Ron was popular, but we didn't make no progress. So understand something, brother. I mean, I know exactly what's going on, and I've watched the change happen over the last 20 years where, I mean, we went from having just a few Mexicans in all the fast food restaurants to it's nothing but Mexicans in the fast food restaurants now. It's nothing but.
Indeed.
So I've watched the transformation happen. So what you say about the laundromats, the Asians got that locked up and locked down.
Exactly. But they don't. They have no idea what we have coming for them, and we've already done our homework and our due diligence. And actually, to tell you the truth, I went into one of them last month, and I was just doing the numbers. They actually kicked me out. They kicked me out. So I'm telling you, this is war. If you're not spending money with them, they don't want you around. And best believe they are not going to spend money with us.
Oh, no. They don't need your economy. They don't need your economy. They're trying to build their own. They don't need the benefits of your economy other than your money, because they're trying to build their own economy. And the only thing that you have that benefits their economy is your money. Your laundromat doesn't help his laundromat. Your donut shop doesn't help his donut shop. Your dry cleaning place doesn't help his dry cleaning place. Your money is the only thing that helps him. So what you're building, that's not benefiting him. Why? Because he's got his own. Now, let me ask you a few questions about this, though. Now,
go ahead, brother.
First of all, capitalization is always a problem. So are you looking at a place that's already built, or are you going to build your own, or what are you looking at?
We have a prime spot. We're in a new subdivision. Well, it's not exactly new. It's been here for about 10 years. But there's a strip mall that's even north than the subdivision, right outside of our subdivision, and it's on a main, very, very highly trafficked area road, right off of I-20. Then they just built, a Walmart on the back side of my subdivision. So, dude, that's gonna draw everybody and their mamas out, and they're gonna pass this laundromat. There's a multi-family unit.
I mean, but is it going to be Is it going to be in a shopping plaza with everything else, or is it going to be on its own, or where exactly is it going to be at?
It's going to be in the shopping plaza.
Okay, it's actually going to be.
It's not going to be a standalone building.
Okay, that's fine.
It's going to be a shopping plaza.
So you're going to be in the middle of all the action. So that's good. I mean,
exactly.
As long as it's a good place that already has people who want a laundromat.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have to be careful about that. You don't just want to build one because you got the money to build one. You want to build one because it's going to make money, which means that it needs to be in a advantageous place, and that is more than just we got a lot of traffic that comes through here. Does the traffic that comes through there are they desirous of a laundromat? Now that's going to be the real thing.
Yeah.
Is the surrounding population desirous of that? If they are, man, make sure it's nice and clean. Make sure it's spick and span. You know, one of the tricks that they use now, I mean, it'd be great if you got to go pick people's laundry up.
Right.
Do that.
Or give them a wash and fold.
Yeah, exactly. We got a place here, as a matter of fact, that one of my friends had used once, and she had come back and was just beaming. TBA, it's brand new over there. It's nice. It's clean. It's the middle of July, which, it's hot as hell down here in Texas and Louisiana in July. And now this was a couple years ago, but she was like, that new laundromat they had built, man, she was like, the floors are all clean. It's nice and bright in there. She's a little too bright. And she's like, and it's cold in there. You know, so it wasn't just cool, it was cold in there. And I was like, but she was really happy with it and stuff. And it's some, I don't know if it's the Asians who own that one or if it's some white folk who own it. I think it's some white folk who own it, actually. And what I'm saying is that that's a thorough operation. That is a complete and on point and straight operation, man. They're running it in a very crisp fashion. They're running it in a very crisp fashion. And what I'm saying is that that is the way we as black people in the 21st century, we can't sit up here and buy some flea bag box of a building and then think we're going to make money in the 21st century. It's not going to work that way. So as long as you got everything together, man, and we have to do more. We have to show customers because they already have a bias against you because you're black, and they're already expecting substandard service. So that means that we have to go above and beyond. And that means where our own people are concerned too, by the way. Where our own people are concerned. Because buckethead Negroes in Dallas will still drive past you to go to the Asians. Because they're so used to bowing to massa. They're just so used to it now that it's just habitual. So even where black folk are concerned, you got to dig in there too. But on the other hand, that's just a part of doing business. You got to get it out there. And eventually people will see that, hey, my man over here just built his place up. It's nice, it's clean, it's cool on the inside. They do wash and fold. They'll even come and pick up your stuff between certain hours. I'd have it like between 9 and 3, or whatever. I'd have it like that. And just telling you, just wash this stuff and fold it and bring it back. Because there's plenty of places to do that. I just haven't seen black folk doing that. By the way, folk, what I'm saying tonight is not new. I didn't invent the wheel. For people who didn't know that kind of thing is out there, but as it stands, that's the kind of thing that you need to look into. We got to be innovative about this, but more than anything else, you need to make sure you have your 5 times expenses.
Right. We've been talking and brainstorming with a few executives.
Yeah, I mean, if it's going to cost you $200,000 to open up, in reality, you're going to need something closer to $1 million.
Right.
So Boy Scouts motto: be prepared.
Be prepared. Always prepared, brother.
And I know that sounds like a lot, but brother, like I say, you're going to have to overcome a lot of obstacles. You are going to find out that you got way more expenses after you open that thing than you ever thought you'd have. You will be a business owner, which means that you will pay the commercial rates on everything. For the phone, for the water, for the electricity. You will pay commercial rates, which are the highest rates there are. Forget what you got at the electric bill at your house. Your electric bill at your business... The electric bill at your business, especially for a bunch of washers and drying machines, especially them drying machines, and for a commercial AC unit, you're going to be looking. I mean, that's depending on square footage. Your electric bill is not going to be hundreds. Your electric bill could be thousands a month. You could easily be paying $1,000, $2,000 a month just in electricity. You gotta be ready for that before you start, because you got to sit up here and make it through the first year.
Right.
So, like I say, just as long as you're prepared for that. But let us know when you got it up and going, okay? I got a good listenership in Dallas, and I'll make sure that people understand that you're off code. If you're not going to go see my man, you're off code. Hidden Colors had a very good turnout for Dallas. As a matter of fact, I think it surprised Tariq. So our people are there, man. Everybody is not a fool. And if the problem is that we're telling people to do things and ain't giving them no way to do it. So a black business needs to go there and understand that we got an uphill fight. So he's got to go in with the understanding that, okay, I got to make sure I'm capitalized enough so that our people will be able to come and patronize this business. But then I need to make sure that my business is worthy of their dollar. When everybody does what everybody's supposed to do, things will work. The problem is the only things that black folk want to be thorough about are the stuff that we work with white folk on. So we'll be a thorough football player, and we'll be a thorough secretary. We will be thorough when it's being a part of somebody else's operation, but when it comes to being self-driven and being thorough in our own best interest, all of a sudden we want to sit down. And that's not going to work in the 21st century, brother. We can't do that anymore. We cannot do that anymore. We have got to be thorough in our own best interests. So you build it, you get it up and going. Let's see what you're working with to make sure you're okay. I'm not gonna tell people to come to a laundromat where the damn roaches are in there doing their laundry. I'm not gonna tell them to do that. So
yeah.
I'm just telling you right now, if it's a laundromat and somebody TBA, I gotta show you this picture of old boy's laundromat in Dallas, and I'm sitting up here seeing that damn big blue furry thing from Monsters Inc. doing his damn washing up in there. I'm just gonna tell you, hey brother, you ain't up to code. You're not up to code. I'm not going to send somebody to a laundromat looking like it's out the Amityville Horror. Talking about TBA told me to come here, but boys, stuff falling from the ceilings and, hell, people is swinging from the damn chandeliers. No, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. So I'm trusting. I'm trusting that, brother. Look, you're a grown ass man. You 40-something years old. You can see you can see new construction in Dallas. You've been to Plano. You know what the hell's happening up there. You've been to Allen. You've been to Allen.
I work in Allen.
Okay.
I work out there.
And understand something. Now, back in '93, when that was my stomping grounds, Allen was still underdeveloped. Allen still wasn't about nothing.
Hell, it was a forest.
Okay.
It was
They started building in Plano. That was all new construction. Next thing you know, all the bougie white folks started building new subdivisions where? Up in Allen. Okay, so now did I just make that up?
No.
Okay,
they have what is it? A $30 million high school stadium.
And this is why they call me the authority. But in any case, you see what they're doing in Allen, brother. That's your competition. You have got to have an establishment that is ready to be first class for the next 30, 40 years. So you see what your competition is. And if you're not matching up to them, brother, then you're not ready to go in business. So make sure you're ready, make sure you're prepared, and make sure you're ready to go for bear, because a lot of folk are going to be judging you based on your color, and you know that. Show them that you ain't one of them kind of Negroes, that you one of these kind of black folk. You do that, and understand something. The world respects a black man who's on his business. We got a bad reputation because you got so many dusty, bummy Negroes running around here. But when you are a black man who is on his business, people respect that. They respect that more than anything. So be prepared to show them that, no, I ain't one of them. I'm one of us. I am one, so I'm going to be one. I'll let you have the last word.
Just want to tell everybody that it's time to shape up or ship out. Stop looking around and saying what you won't do, and envision inside yourself what you will do. Black first.
Black first, brother. Thank you very much for joining us. Let us know once you have it up and going. See, the problem is that black men have gained a reputation for being sloppy, for being shoddy, and worst of all, black men have gained a reputation as being individuals who can't get anything done unless we're following the directions of non-black people. So we have firmly established in people's minds that we want somebody non-black standing over us, that we desire to be assistants and not to be owners. We've taught the world that that's what we are. And what we have to do now is help to change everybody's perception. We need to adjust our image and adjust their attitudes and show them that, no, we are complete and we are thorough. This is what a professional black man's business looks like. And they're going to walk in there and say, damn, you know, that first time that you get some white folk who walk in your business and they say, damn, this is nicer than mine. This is nicer than mine. That's understand when you get that little reaction. When the Asians walk in there and they looking around like they're looking around like they're staring at the Great Wall. It's, how'd he do this? Nice, clean, thorough, crisp, spick and span. Floors so shiny you can see your face and eat steak off of it. That, brothers and sisters, is how a black man runs his business. You show them that you did not come to compete for first place or first class. You came to be world class. That's what you do when you're a black man who is serious about business. Let Amy Chua go and chew on that for a while. Caller from 510, you're on live with the Black Channel. Turn off your speakers.
They have a close chance like De La Hoya. De La Hoya was boxing. Right. But
really?
Doing that jab a lot. Jab just cast out. Yeah,
did this fella really call in talking about the De La Hoya and he's not even listening to his phone?
Oh. My bad, brother. Hello? Hello?
Yeah.
Hello?
I think we were saying something before about dusty Negroes who don't pay attention and aren't very professional.
I apologize, but I meant to press 1 again. I didn't. I guess my phone accidentally pressed 1 on its own.
Professor Black Truth? Yeah.
That's the problem. Just not ready. Kinda halfway paying attention.
Brother, we gotta be thorough in the 21st century. People like Amy Chua are saying the kind of things they're saying, and you know why? They're saying it because we don't have a response. Where is our media outlet? Where are our books? Where are our business establishment to support people who do speak in black people's interests? Because she's got hers. She's got her media establishment in place. She's got her economic foundation in place. She's got that. And we don't have that. That's why she can talk every type of crazy there is about us. Who's going to punish her? You cannot punish someone without an economy with which to punish them.
Absolutely. In fact, just saw a post recently on the Facebook page. Somebody is talking about some clown named Ibarra who sat there saying nobody's done anything for Hispanic. This is their meme. For all of you people out there, you dead-enders still looking for some black-brown alliance, the Hispanics meme is, oh, the Negroes never did anything for us. And apparently this Latino businessman calls Obama a nigger during an immigration event. He sat there and what he said was that we're not seeing anything happen in Congress in the last 8 years because a nigger is in charge. So, you know, there goes your black-brown alliance. I know some of you are still looking for it. That's okay. You can keep your heads hidden in the sand. Kind of like that Vector person who called themselves trolling the comment section, saying businesses ain't the answer. Let me tell you something. Power, wealth, and influence won't solve all your problems, but what it doesn't solve doesn't matter. And you can quote me on that. So for the people out there who apparently think that power, wealth, and influence isn't the answer, please tell me what substitute we're going to use. Because we've been trying to use all the other substitutes. Religion, love, peace, understanding. We're going to swirl ourselves to death. And it ain't been working. Everybody else, like our good friend Mr. Ibarra, who has only the highest respect for black people, they're using their economy. He's a Latino businessman. As far as he's concerned, you can't lean on him. Because he ain't looking to black people to support his business. That's why. So far as he's concerned, the only thing he wants is for politicians like Obama to throw open the floodgates. Now, of course, we could easily poke holes in the whole Hispanic pride thing by pointing out that, hey, you know, the Spaniards already showed how the whites in America will eventually dominate you. They're just going to rinse and repeat what the Spanish did in South America. Your would-be rise to prominence is already damned to failure before it begins. You were brought in as a political counter lever to the changes that black empowerment represented in the society. White America wants to keep its toehold on people's minds, and you were brought in to help counterbalance us, to get rid of the alternative we represent. He doesn't understand that, but he will, and when it's all said and done, they'll be sitting there whining and complaining about black people and saying, well, you know, black people should not have abandoned us. Give me a freaking break. So no, you don't have any friends anywhere. And people like Vector, who just don't get it and can't be made to get it, don't understand that business is about the only thing that matters. Business ain't the answer for everything. It's the answer for everything that we need, because it's the one thing we ain't got. Spoken like somebody who clearly spends a lot of time going to the local Asian, egg foo young shop, and when he's through there, he goes to the Indian grocery store, mini mart, then he goes to the Arab gas station, and then he goes to the white clothing store, and then he has the nerve to turn around and tell black people that businesses ain't all that important. Businesses ain't everything. In a world that runs on money, you're right, it ain't everything, it's the only thing. How the hell are you going to sit here and have 93% black unemployment in Chicago for teenage black males? There goes your future leadership class. The men are the leaders, but ain't going to be no leading going on in Chicago in the black community. How are you going to have black people getting their water turned off in Detroit because they can't pay the bills? And you have black people get wholesale run out of San Francisco, not by the Mexicans, but by white landowners who keep dropping economic bombs. They already know that you can barely afford the property taxes when they were only a few bucks. All they got to do is put a condo across the street from you. Next thing you know, the white people take pride. They already know that as soon as they move into that condo, all those black hovels in front of them are going to disappear soon because the sheriff's going to be kicking them all out. They know this. It's a game. It's a script. They know the game and they love to play it. So don't tell me that economics are not everything. This is a fool who apparently thinks the welfare, food stamps, WIC, SSI, and all these programs are going to be around. Let me tell you something. They were made for white people to begin with. The Negro ghetto class, the coon class that white America created, they're phasing them out. And people like Vector, who apparently are thinking that he's got better things to do. It's like he came here to the place that specializes in talking about black economics, and first thing he says, black business ain't everything. It's everything to us. And when you look at how successful the Indiegogo was, you can see that among black people, intelligent black society is winning. We are winning the war against coonery and buffoonery, winning the war against frauds, fakers, and bastard baby makers. Oh, I'm sorry, I meant to say single mothers. Our group is winning, and we're going to keep on winning, and we're not going back. And I say this to Vector and any of the other trolls who are still lurking, too scared to stick your heads up. Intelligent Black Society's operating motto is very, very simple. If you don't stand with us, then you stand in our way. This is the kind of hard-nosed approach we're giving. And yes, this is how we intend to go about things. We're not running a big tent here. We are not going to make room for every Tom, Dick, and Harry who wants to be contrary for the sake of being contrary. We are weeding you out. We are putting you out. You are not going to sit here and do this garbage anymore where you just toss hand grenades into the discussion. Everybody's saying, yes, black business is what we need. Well, black businesses ain't everything. We're not going to allow that mess anymore. Deranging the conversation. Constantly derailing things. We're sitting here getting everybody on the same page, and you're just sitting here being the naysayer. I don't like this. I don't agree with this. You think it makes you sound smart, and it makes you sound stupid. The class clown may get a lot of attention, but he gets no respect. And I'm sick and tired of the clowns who make it a point that as far as they're concerned, they have to come crashing into the discussion and just sit there and tell everybody, well, I don't agree. They're not putting forward a better idea. They're just saying, I don't agree. You're not giving anybody anything to follow. You're just saying what you don't like. To hell with that. Intelligent Black Society is not a big tent. We're not welcoming everyone. And of those who are already in the tent, not everybody's going to be staying. Vector found that out. And he won't be alone.
As we're moving into the 21st century here, brother, this is the place that has drawn the line in the sand. And we've made it very clear to everybody that understand the 21st century will be our last chance to get this together. And we can keep saying dumb things if we'd like to. We can keep doing that. We can keep focusing on idiocy and stupidity. We can keep running over there to World Star Hip Hop. We can keep twerking and jerking. We can keep ignoring the Amy Chuas if we please. We can keep doing that now, everybody. You can keep telling yourselves that there is some non-tangible, spiritual, make-believe, imaginary answer out there. If you want to do that, you can keep saying that all we have to do is go to church, all we have to do is pray, all we have to do is believe. We don't know what you're believing in, but all we got to do is believe. Brothers and sisters, we can do that if we want to. Yeah, that's an option for you, I guess. But the people who are trying to stamp us out, why is it that they're not coming after us with their churches? They're not trying to pray us away. Gentrification isn't happening because a bunch of white folk have gotten together and are trying to find their 11 parts of their psyche. As we mentioned last night, as idiotic as it seems, they are not gentrifying us because of an ancient religion. They are using their dollars, their economy to do this. And what they are counting on is that you and I will never get serious about building one to fight them with. That's what they're telling themselves. If we do this, we will do this without you. They are betting that we're never going to get our act together to build one of our own. Because you can't fight dollars with praying, people. I'm sorry if nobody told you this. You cannot beat another man's economy with your ideology. You cannot beat another man's economy with your spirituality by resorting to make-believe things. And when you start yelling about intangibles, things we can't touch, that we're talking about physical problems, and you're talking about spiritual answers to a physical problem, that means that you didn't bring us any answers. But you want to go ahead and talk. You gave us no answers, but you want to go ahead and talk. That's the inexcusable. This is the Black Channel. Who is this? Okay, somebody's playing on our line here. That's quite alright. I'll send him across that great divide as well. You cannot fix your problems by trying to make believe them away. And as grown black people of the 21st century, when cops and highway patrolmen are beating the wisdom teeth out of black great-grandmothers in California, you aren't going to stop that with a protest and a march. You stop that by showing both the mayor and the police chief that we will deal with you. At that point, they will scramble to do something about that. But understand, this is nothing short of the most sophisticated form of genocide that you've ever seen. And the reason that you don't want to discuss an economy is because an economy is hard to build. It's hard work building an economy. It is so easy to sit your ass on Facebook talking about we don't need hospitals, we don't need money, we don't need wealth. It's real easy to do that. Over here with us, this is where the hard work is getting done. And guess what? It's where the only real progress is happening either. You're on live with the blackchannel.net radio. Caller from 404.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. What's your name? Where you calling from?
This is Vector 313 calling from Kuwait. I was wondering how long you were going to keep me on hold and then say I'm not calling in to say anything.
Well, you didn't call in. You're calling from area code 404.
I did call in. I've been on the line. I've been called in for about 25 minutes.
That's not the area code that's not the area code you said, nitwit.
No, I said I was calling from 444 from my Google Voice.
No, you didn't.
That's exactly what I said. You guys obviously aren't looking at the comments, or you would have saw it. Just like Professor Black is strong.
We've watched you make idiot comments the whole time.
At the comments when I said what I said.
We've watched you make dumb comments the whole time.
What was the dumb comment I made? Tell me.
Yeah.
You can't tell me.
And that's what I say. He just asked that. We just said it. We just said what it was. That is why you're in Kuwait.
Let me rewind the conversation for you.
That is why you're in Kuwait, fella. That's why you're in Kuwait. Just remember that. That's how you got there.
You tell me.
That's how you got there.
Tell me how I got to Kuwait.
You got in Kuwait.
Huh?
You got in Kuwait like that. That's how you got there. A lifetime of not being very bright. That's how and paying very much attention. That's how you got there.
Not being bright, really.
Yeah, so that's how you got there. You said that money is not. You said that business is not the answer to all our problems.
That is not what I said. Stop.
Yes, it is.
This is why I need to clarify. What do you want me to clarify?
Oh, now you want to change? No. What you mean is you want to change it now.
Do you want to straw man me to death, or do you want me to clarify?
No, I don't care about. I don't care what you say or don't say. We read what you said.
Obviously, you don't care because you're making a straw man argument about something I didn't say.
We're quoting you. We're quoting you. Now you're saying it's a straw man argument. We're quoting you. Not even listening to what I said. You were raised by a single mother because quoting you is not a strong man argument. That's a feminine statement you're making. That facts don't matter.
You didn't quote me. You did not quote me. Because what I said is it's not that simple to just open a black hair business. I didn't say that. I never said that opening businesses was not.
Yeah, you did. Rick just shut up. Rick just reposted you. They just reposted you.
If you read the comment,
we're reading it now.
You would have known that's not what I said.
Yeah, what you said is open a business is not the answer for every problem.
I'm asking you again.
Hey, you're not going to be yelling. You're not going to be talking over me here. Your words were open a business is not the answer for every problem. Life isn't that simple. That's what you said. Plain and simple. Now, do you want to try to talk your way out of that? Okay, he hung up.
Living proof that there's simply no way to fix stupid. He didn't pay attention to his own words. He wrapped himself in a web of rhetoric. And in the end, he goes running from the hills. What's he doing in Kuwait? Cowering, that's what he's doing. Annoying people in the first world, that's what he's doing. Black people understand, if you're not black first, if you ain't part of the B1 brigade, you're with Vector and the cowards. The line is getting drawn real thick and black. He sits here and wastes our time saying, I didn't say this. I didn't say that. What did I say? It's like, wow, you really want to play the game of what did I say with Jason Black? You want to play with Professor Truth? We know what the hell you said. Johnny Ace knows what you said. Ambush knows what you said. Draco Black knows what you said. Everybody was sitting here watching it. And he turns around and says, well, that's not what I said. Okay, the brethren went ahead and reposted it. It's like, okay, here's what you said. First thing he goes, whoops, got me, click. We had you from the jump, man. We don't play the game here of, well, you quoted me wrong. No, we didn't. You quoted me out of context. No, we didn't. And I want a lot of black men to understand something. This guy, he ain't alone. Some of y'all been doing the same thing. You sit there and get your butts in a crack, and instead of going ahead and saying, you know what, I said something really ill-considered. I said something really dumb. I need to walk that back. Instead, you decide that you're going to dig in your heels. And look what happened to the guy. Yelling, screaming, I didn't say that, I didn't say that, I didn't say that, I didn't say that. Look at that.
Yeah, it's really kind of pathetic here. Guess who's back on the line, Professor Truth?
Live from Kuwait.
Well, hello, Mr. Open a business is not the answer to all problems.
How's it going?
Open a business is not the answer for every problem. Life isn't that simple. That's quoting what you said now. That's quoting you directly. And you sat here and lied to everybody and said that wasn't what you said. That was exactly what you said. Then again, maybe you have low reading comprehension or low language comprehension.
You're strawmanning again.
So quoting you is wait a minute. Quoting you, so you're telling everybody here on our broadcast that quoting you is strawmanning you.
You're not quoting me, but are you?
Wow, that was exactly what you said. We just quoted you word for word.
I'm sorry. Can I quote Professor Black Truth?
No, you're going to quote yourself. No, you're only going to quote yourself. We just quoted you.
I'm going to quote him.
No, you're not.
And then I want you to
no, you can respond to me. You can respond to me right now, or you're finished talking. Respond to what I just said.
My response to you is that you guys are saying that I said opening black businesses is not the solution, and I did not say that.
We quoted you. That was what you typed.
Wait, let me finish. I said opening black businesses is not always the solution, and in the context of the conversation, there was another gentleman in the chat room that said the answer to opening a black hair shop the answer to a Chinese or Asian hair shop that is rude is to open another black hair shop. And where I was going with my comments before I was banned from commenting, because I was trying to explain my position, was that if you have black women going into this hair shop and they're buying weaves from Brazil or India or China, and the Asians have that product supply line, going to opening a black business, a hair shop, is not the answer if you don't have access to that product.
And that is how you ended up in Kuwait. That's how you got there.
That's how I got there. Okay.
And that's how you ended up in Kuwait. By talking on things you don't know anything about.
How would you open those supply lines? How would you open those supply lines?
Okay, first of all, you don't have an international nothing, okay? Being a buck private in the Army does not count as international anything.
That I rent out to the Ethiopian government. I'm also in the process of starting a fish farm in Hawassa, Ethiopia.
Oh, good. Why don't you tell us your business name?
I'm a government contractor.
Good.
I make well over 6 figures.
Tell us your business name.
The capital of my international business.
Okay, tell us your business name. Tell us your business name.
Do you?
Tell us yes, I do. Tell us your business name so that we can do business with you. What's your business name?
It's my name incorporated.
Your name incorporated. What is that?
Do you want me to give you my personal name?
Yeah, let's go. We want to find out you have a business because I think you're a fat liar.
Okay.
Okay, you're lying.
We can do that offline.
No, we don't have to do anything offline. No. You just sat here and lied to the world and said you got international business. You're a damn liar, making things up.
Okay. If that's your argument,
where's your proof? Where's your proof?
I know where my money.
Okay, where's your proof? Just give us your proof.
I'm perfectly fine.
Okay, your proof. Give your proof to us. Give us your proof. Enough talk. Where's your proof at? Where's your proof?
Go to my YouTube site.
Okay, what's your YouTube site? What's your YouTube?
It's Vector 313.
Vector 313. Professor Truth, why don't you look that up for him right quick so that we can see the great business that he's doing there. Everybody, he's on YouTube at Vector 313. Why don't we go to his YouTube and we can just go see if he's got any proof there or if he's just got a bunch of videos and is trying to claim to people that he's got something happening, because this clown is lying. He doesn't know anything about business. He just sat up here and showed everybody he don't know nothing about it, but now he's claiming, oh, I do international business, I do fishing. The only thing fishy about you is your story. That's the only fishy thing going on here.
I'm looking at his channel
No, the
right
only
now.
thing-
and
shut up,
apparently he's got
Vector.
some-
You're too busy
Be
talking to
quiet,
people who.
Vector. Be quiet. Not another word from you. I'm looking at your channel right now, Vector313. By the way, I love your avatar. It's basically the rising sun, just like Robin Roberts, a black man who identifies more with Asian people than his own people. That's real classy. Let me go ahead and tell you about some of the uploads on Vector313's YouTube page. Kanye Syndrome Response. Lay off the donuts. Franchising is not building. Money equals power nor respect, or I think he meant to say money doesn't equal power or respect. Then he has a video about CTMB halftime, 76-0 blowout of Central. Then he's got a 21-second video of the Gion Hotel in, I guess that's Addis Ababa in Ethiopia. And then unconscious black sports figures. This is his channel. This is his channel. The closest thing to business that he talks about is franchising is not building. A 7-minute and 50-second video, which I'm looking at it right now, and I would love to say that this was a video that was shaky cam, but it looks like there was a freaking earthquake going on where he was. And he's not really saying anything, it's just bloviating and griping. It's amazing to me. He's outside walking like a 6-year-old on Facebook.
So what you mean is that he doesn't have any videos there that are substantiating any type of business interest that he owns at all? Because he just talked as if, well, you can see proof of my business ownership on YouTube. That was what he just said.
Well, I just got through looking at it, and if strolling around outside aimlessly, wandering and mumbling to yourself like an insane asylum patient on the loose, if that's business acumen, then I guess that he's part of the black bourgeoisie. But if you're looking for somebody to actually tell you about a business that he owns, all he's doing is walking around, looking at, and he's in a foreign country. He didn't get there on his own, and he's just mumbling to himself, talking about franchising ain't business, ain't building. It's like, this is a joke. And this is the guy who's going to lead you. Hey, black folks, this is who's going to tell us about making businesses. You know, I think that this guy is probably the same chump who called in last week. I think this is him because it sounds like the exact same stupidity. Oh, I got businesses in different area codes. I do business with big businesses all over the world. Yeah, Negroes love to name drop. They love to make that stuff up because they think it makes them look good until somebody does some fact checking and you find out, nope. He's just some chump sitting here on the internet. A legend in his own mind, such as it is.
Well, let's see here, Vector313. Now that we've looked over your YouTube and see that you're a fraudulent individual, I got another guy who likes to make a lot of YouTube videos. You might want to hook up with him. He's got a documentary coming out between now and Never Up Your Ass. So, why don't you go ahead and tell us all where your business acumen is on YouTube? Because right now you're looking pretty fraudulent. Catatonic.
Am I off mute?
Yeah, you're off mute. You're off mute now to tell us where's your proof at. We just went to your YouTube.
Are you done strawmanning?
Yeah, we just went to your YouTube channel. You said you had proof on that channel. Where is it?
You asked me for proof. I have the video from the Gion when I was in that East.
Okay, where's your business? Show us proof you got a business. Where is it?
What did I tell you my business was?
Sir, show us your proof of that. Don't tell me nothing. Show me. Show me where it is. Show me your proof of your business. Sir, I don't care. Don't tell me nothing. Show me. Sir, we're done talking. Show us.
I rented heavy equipment in Ethiopia.
Okay, where's your proof? Where is your proof?
3 excavators, 1 bulldozer, 1 flatbed.
And your proof? Where is the proof of that?
What else do you need to know about my business?
What we need to know is where is your proof, brother?
Equipment and I collect the money.
Where's your proof?
What more do you?
What we want to know is where's your proof?
What more? Oh, so it's my job to prove to go out and make random videos, however many months in advance, because I want to call him to the Black Authority and have him strawman me to death?
No.
I thought we were talking about having a hair business in the black community.
Show us your proof. Show us your proof.
Are we not going to stick to the topic?
Yes, the topic is where is your proof that you know anything about? Where is your proof that you own a business? Yes, we're doing it now.
topic.
We're doing it right now.
No, we're not.
Where's your
You're trying to
proof?
strawman me, discredit me when I explained to you.
So what you mean, what you meant to say is you don't actually have any. That's what you mean to say. So you don't actually have any proof at all.
Participate in strawman arguments.
What you mean is you don't have any proof. That's what you mean to say. There is no proof.
I'm talking about starting. I'm talking about
Okay.
my comments starting the
Here's the point, brother. We don't talk to fraudulent people here. We don't talk to internet frauds here, okay? We don't talk to fraudulent people. So now that you've been busted in front of everybody, now that you've been proven to be a liar in front of everybody, now that you've been proven to be a fraud in front of everybody, what I'm telling you right now is I don't know who you are, and I wish that had never changed. I don't know where you come from, the outer regions of insanity. But don't ever call here again. Period. End of discussion. Don't ever call us back again. We have enough liars, fakers, and frauds out there who think that I can be on the internet, I can say that I'm anywhere on earth, and that will conceal me from ever having to prove anything. I didn't tell people I was making a documentary. I went out and shot the footage, and then I came back and showed you what I had. I didn't talk my way into anything. I showed it and proved it. A lot of black males out there thinking that they can just bull jive their way through life. And that nobody will ever fact check me. Nobody will ever look behind me and see whether I'm actually telling the truth about anything I'm saying. I can just say anything, and somebody will believe it. And that's the problem that we have, is a bunch of males out here who don't actually know how to build anything. But boy, they know how to keep talking their behinds off. And this is a place where we don't put up with that at all. We actually demand that if you make a statement like he made, that you do international business, understand something. If you're going to do that, then you need to be able to prove that you did that. And if you can't prove it, then you have to shut up at that point. So for anybody who might have been listening to him when he was talking about how business is not the answer to everything, just understand he just showed you all that he's really off his meds, and he has internet access at whatever homeless shelter he's staying at. He's probably sitting down there, on 12th Avenue, but telling people he's in Kuwait. Yeah, of all the things he's lost, he misses his mind the most. Caller from 661, you're on live with the Black Channel.
Hey, Black Authority. This is Bobby Barganier, one of your Facebook subscribers. I wanted to talk about that last caller a little bit. That guy was an idiot, man. He ain't got no business. We just basically wanted to come online to talk shit to the Black Authority, because he knows he ain't got nothing going 90 seconds. On. I mean, how are you gonna have a fish farm and you're supposed to be some lowly private in the army in Kuwait? Yet
how are you gonna have a fish farm if your thing is renting equipment? How did you become an expert on fish farms with earth-moving equipment? How the hell does that happen?
Exactly. I mean, I think that's how we know that this guy is he's not being factual, not being truthful or factual with his information. But that being said, the reason I want to call in TBA, is I wanted to talk about the subject you and Professor Black Truth had going, where you guys were talking about how, Asians, these Asians, they want to come in here and be greasy with black folks and write, that lady wants to write greasy articles and stuff on black folks. But what they don't realize is that if it wasn't for the U.S. government going into different parts of the world, such as Korea and Vietnam and Guam and all these different, and the Philippines and all these 10 seconds. Places, and having military conflicts in which many black soldiers were involved with and fought and died, that these people would never have been able to even come to this country in the first place.
Oh, yeah.
And then for you to write a book talking about black folks, you realize without the blood, sweat, and tears of black folks that all these Asians and stuff wouldn't even be able to be in this country in the first place?
Well, here's the thing, though. That? The thing is that take a look at the areas where people did have trouble, okay? I mean, you take a look at Vietnam where white folk bombed them. And take a look at the situation in Vietnam today. They are still struggling to recover from that. People like Amy Chua don't like to bring up the places where white folk touched down in Asia. They want to bring up their past in places that white folk did not. White folk did not charge into China. They had a hands-off policy in Asia. Truth be told, they didn't charge into Japan like that either, except dropping the bombs. After that, they rebuilt the damn place. They did not rebuild Vietnam. They didn't rebuild the Philippines. They didn't have a big effort rebuilding the Koreas. They neither built nor rebuilt a damn thing in Africa. Germans all over the damn place. British, Dutch, French. What did they rebuild in Africa after they trashed it? ExxonMobil, they have had a spill 10 times worse than the Deepwater Horizon Macondo well that blew out here 5 years ago. They have not made an inch of effort to clean up anything in Nigeria in decades. It's filthy where their refineries are. Shouldn't we be confiscating their refineries as compensation and then sue them in world court to get them to say, by the way, you owe us $100 billion over these refineries, by the way? You show me a place that we have done anything like that, because she is comparing places where white folk didn't touch anything and saying, look how great that went, simply because they're outside of America. She is not making comparable equivalence between them. She's just taking the best case scenarios. But when you start dealing with the comparable things and the equivalents, all of a sudden you see, yeah, it looks the same.
Yeah, and another thing I think that this female Asian author isn't covering is, I believe I read somewhere where she said that the groups that she says she thinks are superior are Hindus, I think maybe Jews or something, Nigerians, Cuban immigrants, and I guess, yeah, I guess some other groups of Asians. What this woman isn't talking about isn't saying is she's not mentioning the concept of a brain drain, meaning when you have a country like the United States, which is a superpower, you have the best universities, best educational facilities, you have the luxury of being able to import or in-migrate, if you will, the best and the brightest from these other
Okay,
countries.
brother,
So,
I need for you, I don't know if you're rubbing the phone on your body or something, but I need for you to try to kind of get still with the phone there, okay?
Oh, sorry about that, TBA. What she's not saying is that the United States is in migrating the best and the brightest of these countries. So you're getting the best scientists, best doctors, the people, professionals, technical professionals to come to this country and help increase our brain capital here. What she's not mentioning is see, they're not letting just any old Nigeria over here, or just any old Indian over here, or just any old Korean over here. They're letting the academically best and brightest over here in the first place, to get and giving them and subsidizing them in many ways, so that they can come over here and get an education and thrive and prosper.
Yeah, I mean, it's always been that way since Ellis Island. I mean, they didn't just throw the gates open, contrary to what people believe. And Michael Bloomberg and Steve Bill Gates and Warren Buffett, and now Sheldon Adelson. I put up a story today that Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, and Sheldon Adelson are all pushing for, quote, immigration reform now and saying it's a disgrace. They're not saying anything about black people being killed by the prison industrial complex and the police Gestapo state. That's not in America's human rights interests. That's not American values, but they do want plenty of illegals in the country. Now, for those of you who don't remember Sheldon Adelson, he is a hardcore right-wing Republican, hardcore Jewish activist, businessman. He dropped what, $5 or $6 million in the Newt Gingrich campaign when he was running for president, single-handedly, by the way, one man by himself. And what we're saying here is that 3 of the richest men in America, and thus on earth, wanting cheap labor, wanting illegal aliens, but understand they got a plan, because Bill Gates, he doesn't need any bean pickers. That's not what Bill Gates wants. See, y'all are looking at Mexico. Bill Gates is looking at India. And where is the world's highest concentration of computer programmers? India, not the United States. So he wants access to Indian workers. Take a look at Warren Buffett. He wants access to the Mexicans. And Sheldon Adelson and his casinos, of course he wants more cheap Mexican labor. Of course he does. Y'all are standing in the way of profits. But understand, the priority will go to skilled laborers. What you said about brain draining. We want people who are heating and plumbing and carpentry and electricians and roofers and house builders and stuff. You can't be, damn me, the biggest dope smoker in Tijuana thinking that you're going to get priority to come into the United States. That's not going to happen. That's not what's happening right now. So they're making it very clear that they want skilled laborers. And in the case of the Asians, they went one better. You got priority if you were a business owner. Now, in Vietnam, for example, what was the primary business there? Fishing. The fishing industry is the primary business in Vietnam. So, after the Vietnam War, where did the United States take all their Vietnamese refugees? Many of them, they took them and dumped them down there in New Orleans. Because New Orleans already had a shrimping and fishing industry. It's on the coast, and these people would be familiar with that type of environment. Why? Because they already had experience. That's how you got so many Vietnamese people in New Orleans after the Vietnam War. There has been zero, none, nada, no such effort to do that for Africans or Haitians. They don't give a damn if you got the cure for cancer. If you're one of the Haitian boat people, back you go. There is no effort whatsoever being made to bring African people into this country. They got walls up for us, and they got the red carpet down for everybody else. That's what's happening.
Yeah, I totally agree, TB, and I totally forget about how the government, how they target Asian business owners. I think that's a big reason why so many of them are able to come over here and start these enterprises.
Oh, in China?
Because
right now it is huge in China. The United States State Department has gotten into slobber knocks with China over the fact that America has had a blatantly open immigration policy for Chinese entrepreneurs. And guess what Rick Snyder wants up there in Detroit and in Michigan right now? He wants a fast track to immigration for Arab and Asian business entrepreneurs. He wants a fast track of immigration for them. So understand something, brother. It is hard and heavy. If you know how to build a business, Uncle Sam wants you. If you're black, Uncle Sam is pointing the finger at you, all right, saying, who brought this nigga here?
Yeah. Well, what about these? What about how the U.S. government allows so many Nigerians in here? Is it because do they want them to start businesses too, or is it because a lot
so
of them
many?
are
What are you talking about? So many? By so many,
Well,
what are you
well-
talking about? Give me a number.
Well, I mean, I don't have the numbers in front of me right now. I'm not in front of my computer right now, but I do notice Nigerians. A lot of them I see concentrated in the medical industry. You see Nigerian doctors, doctors from Ghana as well, and all this and that. Is a lot of this?
Well, okay, we all understand that every once in a while they let a doctor float through, but the real question is where are your Nigerian welders? Where are your Nigerian carpenters? Where are your Nigerian where are the blue collar working class people? Where are the manual laborers? And that's the component that's missing. So you can get into America if you're a Nigerian doctor, but we've always had an open policy for doctors. Hell, they let Arabs over here. Remember the doctor at Fort Hood in Texas who shot up all the soldiers there, Major Hassan. Well, he was a doctor and a jihadist, by the way. He wasn't just a doctor, he was a jihadist. So the immigration policy for doctors is so open that they even let terrorists in. Now, what about everybody else? Other than doctors, and how many people can actually become doctors? Other than that, what we got to show for it?
Yeah, I see that. I just wanted to call in and get my 2 cents in. I'm a big fan of your show, TBA. I mean, not your show, your broadcast. I've learned so much, and I plan on continuing listening and learning in the future. I myself am a young, aspiring entrepreneur. And basically, I just want to say to you, Professor Black Truth, as well as the B1 Brigade, Black First.
Black First, brother, thank you very much for joining us here tonight. Professor Truth, in the 21st century, black people need to understand that it's game on. That everybody else is squadding up. I was reading a story earlier today about how MS-13, that's right, Mara Salvatrucha itself, is down there on the U.S. border to Mexico recruiting. Even though they're El Salvadorans, they're down there on the Mexican border recruiting. And we know what's going to happen. Texas, California, Virginia, they're going to be moving in. I was watching a documentary about BMF, Black Mafia Family. And, it's very nice and all, with Meech and everything. I understand that. But in the 21st century, black men got to get off that.
It doesn't surprise me that MS-13 is recruiting on the border. I mean, look at all of these Central American kids who are coming over the border. It's called a humanitarian crisis, and Obama's trying to find the fastest way to naturalize them.
And we have to get our game together. I'm watching this documentary about Meech and Black Mafia Family, and I'm like, he had a good business philosophy for a drug dealer, but it just didn't work very well for a legitimate entrepreneur. As black men, we have to stop with this nonsense where we're geniuses about the dope game and we're complete buffoons and imbeciles when it comes to anything else. That day is over. If you get in the dope game, you're supposed to be in that thing for exactly 5 minutes and get the hell out. Grab $1 million, get you something legit, so that they don't have time to bug your damn phones for 3 years. The government can't bug your phones for 3 years if you didn't stay in the game long enough to get caught doing nothing. Black men want to sit up here, they talk about getting in and getting out, but they never actually do it. So if Meech could have sold drugs like that, he could have been a hellified car dealer. And that's perfectly legal. Why didn't you do that instead? He got in the music business. Okay, that's very nice. At what point do you put this damn dope game down so that these people can't come after you like that?
I got a better question to posit than that. Now that states like Oregon and Washington and California are going to make marijuana legal, how many of these brothers out there who think that they're big-time dope dealers are going to go ahead and stay in the drug game now that it's about to become legit? They're going to be no more adept at business with drugs when it's legitimate than they were with legitimate business when drugs were illegal. they're not going to suddenly learn how to run a business. They're going to be looking to run a hustle. It's cute when it's prohibited, and only those who are willing to take the risk of going to prison will do it. But when you're in a situation where it's going to be your skill against someone else's skill, a level playing field, and there is no risk of prison, now it's just like any other business. And Pookie and Ray Ray and all the other clowns who thought that they were big-time dope dealers, they're going to be sitting here going, it just ain't fair. How can I compete with Walmart? That's just dumb. That's a whole new level of dumb.
Or worse, we'll have a situation like Holland, and black folk will still be getting locked up. Because understand something, people. In places like the Netherlands and whatnot, drugs are legal. But there are still people who get arrested every day for drugs. Well, who are they? Drug dealers who don't have a license to sell. So you see, there will still be illegal drugs. There will still be illegal drugs, just the ones that you're selling. Now, I'm not in favor of legalizing any type of drugs or whatever. I'm really not in favor of that across the board. I'm not in favor. There is no such thing as a safe narcotic. That's like saying, you know, benevolent settlers. That it's a contradiction in terms. There's no such thing as a safe narcotic. But what I am saying is that if there is going to be a drug market in the United States, black men need to be running in it. Because understand something. Them white boys that y'all are out there getting blowed with, they're going to be in that line with y'all for a good hot minute, and then they're going to own all the stores. So in places like Washington, you'll be 5% of the population, but 50% of the damn customers. All the black folk will be blunted out, strung out on drugs, because you will grab it. First they get you started on weed, and next you're going to move up to harder stuff. And yeah, that's what usually happens. Don't even start with the, oh, that don't happen. Yeah, it does. That's the only reason you do it, because the old high wears off. And pretty soon, no matter how much weed you smoke, it doesn't help anymore. So there'll still be illegal weed. It'll still be there. And black men will be the only ones trying to make that work. Well, why? Because guess what? What they're saying in places like Colorado and whatnot, you can't start a weed dispensary if you're a felon. If you're a convicted felon, guess who can't start a weed dispensary? Guess who can't do it? That's right. So all you black males who became felons while you got your education at selling dope, you're the smartest people about the dope game, you just don't have any way of capitalizing on it now. You all better find some legal hustles, if you want to call it that. Y'all better start learning how to hustle legally. Because all this illegal stuff ain't helping. Amy Chua and them are whipping your asses with a pen. And it's time out for us as black men being the weakest damn link. Because we're determined that everybody else will run a business. But meanwhile, we're going to see about trying to run some damn fly-by-night, seat-of-your-pants, quick buck operation. Damn the quick buck. We don't need a quick buck. We need long-term empires. We need institutions. That's what we need. To hell with every black man who's out there saying that he wants to make some money, and because Meech said that too. Don't know how long we're gonna be here. Now he's got the rest of he's got the next 30 damn years in prison. I don't know what you're gonna do on the streets, brother, but I know what you're gonna do for the next 30 years. Every bit of this time. Brothers, we gotta stop putting ourselves behind the 8 ball, talking about magic beans, flying carpets, obsessing over sex and panties. You better start obsessing over power, wealth, and influence. You better start obsessing over what's really important. You better start obsessing over building a legitimate business enterprise. Bring that damn hustle mentality to something legitimate. Because there's no difference. Your bastard baby-making mama told you that you couldn't be nothing more than a dope dealer. Isn't it time to show that hoe she was wrong? Isn't it time to show her that she was dead wrong? She couldn't be nothing but a project mammy, but that doesn't have to be your future. That doesn't have to be your story. You will make a decision as to whether or not that's your story. You'll make a choice. We can go
A large
big.
part of the reason that I wanted to talk about Amy Chua tonight was because I thought that it was very important that black people understand just how white power is working to maintain the upper hand, even with the numerical minority on the planet. About 15 years ago, all the books about China were about the Chinese threat. It was about competition from China Inc. They were running China into the ground morning, noon, and night. They went after Wen Ho Lee, the scientist who they claimed was selling nuclear secrets to the Chinese. Turned out they were wrong. They just couldn't get enough of running the Chinese into the ground. And now we see them slobbering over the Chinese. Now we know, of course, it's fake, but what we're seeing is a burgeoning Anglo-Sino alliance. That's what's happening here. They're like two dogs, circling around each other, feeling each other out. Yeah, there's going to be some flexing of muscles, and there's going to be some barking back and forth, and, some of the jostling and some of that. That's going to happen. But for the most part, what we're watching is they're circling around each other, and that's usually what happens when they get ready to swirl. See, Rupert Murdoch has shown you what's going to be happening. And DreamWorks is showing you what's going to be happening. And Michael Dell is showing you, and Bill Gates. This is not the beginning of a second Cold War. This is the beginning of a Pan-Asian Euro alliance, whatever you want to call it. And Amy Chua is the voice of that. That's the reason why I wanted to bring it up. I mean, her family made it big in the Philippines, but keep in mind, the Americans had the Philippines as a colony from 1895 until 1941, when the Japanese broke the American stranglehold with the bombing of Fort Mills, right after the bombing of Pearl Harbor. But before the Japanese got in there, keep in mind, the Americans ruled the Philippines with an iron grip. General Blackjack Pershing, who was the hero, quote-unquote, of the Philippine insurrection, where he put down the insurrection with killing 250,000 Filipinos. And then you wonder why it is the Filipinos didn't have what it took to resist the Japanese or the Chinese or anyone else. The Americans broke them, and they've been broken ever since. And here Amy Chua and her middlemen relatives come in to pick up all the marbles. Now we know that what she does is propaganda, but what is the response of intelligent black society going to be? We're done clicking our teeth, shaking our heads, and going, oh, what a shame. These good white folks and these good Asian folks are squadding up. The open door policy of the past is still in place. And we see the Europeans making a bum's rush for the door now. They want to get in there. As far as they're concerned, if Asia's star is on the rise, they're going to hitch their wagon to that star. Either it runs out of gas like the other Asian economic miracles, or it becomes the next big thing. But either way, they intend to have their hooks in deep. This is how they have ensured their position. They find out who's making moves, and they immediately say, let me get in there. That's what happened to Motown. That's what happened to FUBU. That's what happened to Death Row Records. I mean, we just keep making the same mistakes. And we got people who come in here and say that business don't matter. Business ain't everything. These people who don't have a business of their own. And I'm not going to jump on Vector too much, but I do think it's interesting looking at his video page that his first video was Kanye West's Kanye Syndrome response. This is somebody who's putting out clickbait. This is somebody who thinks that they found something that's trending and they're going after it. That's how that clown washed up on the fertile shores of intelligent black society. He came here seeing that we're on the rise, seeing that this is the place where, it's popping. There's some heat over here. And he's like, maybe I can show up and get some attention for myself. And the only thing he showed was he's one of the fools that we don't need to listen to. Yeah, that's what's up. Everyone's squadding up, and nobody's squad is going to be harder or more disciplined or stronger or more willing to weed out the geeks than IBS. And that's the way it should be. That is the way it's going to be. But aren't you worried about making friends? Nah, we're trying to make progress. We're trying to make power. You can keep your friends. Hell, even Thomas Jefferson, moral louse that he was, he said we do business with everyone, but we are not friends with anyone. That's what Thomas Jefferson said. And he was the one who laid the foundation for American commerce. He made it clear, we ain't trying to be friends with the Europeans. We'll do business, but as George Washington said, avoid foreign, read European entanglements. See, that's how true power works. You don't make it a habit to get yourself bogged down in third-party disputes. I looked at the griping and complaining that went on between the disenfranchised whites of the Tea Party and the Occupy Wall Street movements and the enfranchised 1%. And you had white liberals who were whining and bitching and complaining, wondering where the black people were. You let them all get locked up in prison. That's where your black support was. And for the few of us who were not in prison, why didn't we join you? It's because we've learned better than to get involved in third-party disputes. The argument of a white entrenched upper class against the newly disenfranchised used-to-be middle class, that ain't got a damn thing to do with us. And that's the way that it should be. You want our support? You have to bring us something. You ain't getting it for free. It's not in our interest? Whoa, then you really got to bring something. Because you're about to ask me to go make an enemy out of a man who I really don't care to. I really don't care to make an enemy out of him. Only way I'm going to do that is if you bring something so juicy. You bring something of such value that I'm looking and going, well, man, you just made it worth my while. That's how power works. That's how power operates. So Amy Chua can keep peddling the long discredited lie that a lot of these folk who are showing up in America somehow just clawed their way up from the bottom when she didn't even do that. We know that that's largely a myth. But we also know that there's truth to the idea that as black people, we're being flooded with these folk. And if we do not decide that we're going to get serious and start practicing black group economics, not talking about it, practicing it, then I'm not afraid of the day that Amy Chua writes her next racist book. I'm afraid of the day when Amy Chua looks up and says, mission accomplished. I don't have to write any more books. Those guys are now past tense. That's the day that worries me.
Brothers and sisters, you've had a chance tonight to hear. You have an opportunity, as always. Every day is your opportunity until you reach the end of days, of course. Now, we have choices to make as a people. We can keep sitting back and complaining, or we can do something about it. We have built a beachhead and a hub of black media right here. We built it. We are speaking in black people's interests. Now, what are you going to do that's in your people's interests? I want to also say one more thing here tonight. Brothers and sisters, do not send any more messages saying that you want to build something for black empowerment. The Black Channel is at the forefront of black empowerment. I'm seeing a lot of folk out there, and you just got one or two of you. What you need to be doing is joining the movement that's already making huge waves and getting things done. Because when they're splintering you already, then you have then you have to understand that splintering yourselves further doesn't help. Splintering ourselves further does not do us any good. We need everybody to be on the same page. This is an open place. This is an open place that makes it very clear that everybody has the opportunity here to speak about intelligent issues. And let me just make this very, 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 very potent right now. There is no... If you weren't already doing... You're not going to build anything that's more potent than the Black Channel. Let's just be very clear about that. You might be able to make something more entertaining, but then again, we don't desire to be entertaining. You might be able to make something more entertaining, but you won't be able to make anything better than what we got here. So for everybody who keeps saying that, we want you to come and you bring your strength to the cause. That's what you need to be doing. You need to come to the Black Channel and be a part of something that's actually building. You need to come to the Black Channel and come to the place that we're making inroads. We're taking on major media figures. And we are actually putting the brakes on them from right where we are. You're not going to reinvent the wheel. If you want to know where black empowerment is right here. I'll let you have the last word, Professor Truth.
I know this is a little bit off topic tonight, but this is something that I get a kick out of, and it does my heart good to see. For those of you who are not aware, I invite, in fact, I provoke you. Take the B1 challenge. If you haven't already gotten your 7 a.m. or Black First Tea, go ahead and do so. And then once you've done that, don't stop there. Take a picture of yourself in front of City Hall or in front of some landmark in your city. Black empowerment's got to come out into the sunlight, folks. It's time for us to start doing that, because you feel the same way I do when you see some jerk with a Confederate swastika on the front of his pickup truck. He's letting you know. He's flying the swastika in the 21st century. And you know what I'm talking about when you say you feel that anger that wells up. It's time for you to stop feeling like a victim and start flying your flag. So take the B1 challenge. Get your 7 a.m. or Black First Tea. Then get a picture of yourself flying the flag in public. We've had a lot of people who have done so. People like John Kelly. Of course, you knew that Mona was going to do it. And B. Washington was going to do it. And a number of others. Join the trend. Take the challenge. Black first.
And of course, everybody out there, if you haven't been yet, they've been selling out really, really well here. We're going to have to go into a second and third printing here. You want to go to our sister website, dashikiwoman.com. That's dashikiwoman.com. You want to check out the Black First shirts, the 7 a.m. materials and accessories, and of course a bunch of other products while you're there as well. So you definitely want to check into that also. And of course, be here tomorrow night, same black time, same black channel, 7 p.m. Central, with me and Professor Black Truth for the only outlet of intelligent black thought in society today. And this concludes tonight's broadcast of the BlackChannel.net radio program. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. With me, of course, Professor Black Truth. And until next time, brothers and sisters from around the world, remember, black is the future, and the future is uncompromising.